Chapter 1034, Making a Move. Chapter 1034, Making a Move. As Blood Moon level killers, both Army Saber and Rakshasa possessed peak rank 3 Dao Masters battle strength. They were also considered as one of the most powerful among their peers. It was said that both of them had killed other peak rank 3 Dao Masters, and even though it was a joint operation, it clearly showed their ability. Perhaps it was due to the fact that the Blood Saber organization knew that its sole responsibility would be to tie up the 2 rank 3 Dao Masters protecting Dao Master 9's sword that it sent them to their client. They were known to be experts at tying up their opponents. Both of you should know about your task by now, right? Jian Wushuang asked as he looked at the 2 killers. Yes, replied Army Saber and Rakshasa, both of them slightly nodding. That's good. I hope that when executing the mission, both of you will do as I say entirely, replied Jian Wushuang. Of course, Army Saber said. You're our client. Of course, we would listen to your orders, but only within the limits of our operation. If it falls outside of our mission, we can't help you. All right, said Jian Wushuang as he nodded. After the 3 had reached a consensus, the skinny elder spoke up. I've already sent people out to keep an eye on Dao Master 9's sword. They'll report to me once he has any movement. Then we shall wait, replied Jian Wushuang. The Emperor Heart City is full of people and experts. We should strike after he leaves the city. Right, agreed the 2 killers, nodding. Jian Wushuang spent the next 3 days waiting patiently in the secret chamber. Dao Master 9's sword is leaving, news came from the skinny elder. Finally, replied Jian Wushuang as his lips cracked into a smile. It was even chillier than the edge of a sharp knife. The very next moment, he set off along with the 2 killers. Indeed, Dao Master 9's sword had left the Emperor Heart City and traveled in a straight direction. After half a day's journey, they arrived before an area known to be a place where an advanced population resided. This population was known as the Bone Clan. 500 years ago, the Bone Clan used trickery which led our ancient monster clan to suffer heavy losses. It was said that they covered up the matter extremely well, but our clan members still managed to uncover their plot. When I traveled out, the 3rd Holy Master had instructed me to exterminate them on my way back, said Dao Master 9's sword in his customary refined manner. His gaze, though, which was fixed on the quarters of the Bone Clan, was chilly. Let's go. Jiu Xiu smiled briefly before he led the other 2 rank 3 Dao Masters to dash straight into the inner sanctum of the Bone Clan. Their auras were incredibly great, and they did not bother to conceal them. Many experts of the Bone Clan immediately sensed their presence once all 3 of them appeared in the void above the quarters of the Bone Clan. Who's there? Halt immediately. Shouts rang out one after another, and only after a short while, dozens of figures rose into the void. All of them were Dao Masters, and their leader was a burly middle-aged man with purple hair. He was the clan leader, but at this moment, he was staring at the 3 people in front of him with a straight face. You are, the burly man began to question them. 9's sword from the ancient monster clan, replied Dao Master 9's sword nonchalantly. The ancient monster clan, replied the purple-haired man. His expression, along with many experts of the Bone Clan, immediately changed, but they quickly composed themselves. So it's the famous Dao Master 9's sword of the ancient monster clan. May I ask what brings you here today? Asked the clan leader. Nothing much. It's just that I find your Bone Clan a nuisance and wish to destroy it. Dao Master 9's sword's tone was extremely calm, but it sounded like thunder to the people of this clan. Make your move. Dao Master 9's sword did not waste his time with unnecessary words. With a wave of his hand, the 2 experts behind him, who had been waiting for their chance to strike, leapt out in an instant. Their terrible auras seeped out and engulfed the entire Bone Clan, immediately causing a disturbance amongst its people. That's not good. Peak rank 3 Dao Masters, and 2 of them to boot. The expression of the burly man immediately changed. Quick, stop them, stop both of them, he kept bellowing. Many of Dao masters from the Bone clan began making their move. The purple-haired clan leader had also immediately rushed forth to confront his opponents. In an instant, all of the top-tier experts in the Bone clan were engaged in combat with the two peak rank 3 Dao masters. Even so, it was a one-sided contest. The Bone clan was just an ordinary advanced population. Even though it was stronger than the Rock Demon and Black Python clan, it was not by much. There were only dozens of Dao masters in the clan, and their two strongest experts were just at the advanced level and entry level of rank 3 respectively. Even though dozens of Dao masters were now joining forces against the two peak rank 3 Dao masters, they did not have many openings to strike. The Bone clan was entirely engulfed with chaos once the battle began. As all of this happened, 3 figures were floating in the void not far from where the Bone clan resided. They stood there gazing from afar, taking in all of the disturbance happening in the Bone clan. Previously, I was curious as to what Dao Master Nine Sword was doing in the Bone clan. It turns out that he wants to exterminate this clan. Hee, seems like we're in luck, said the lovely-looking Rakshasa with a slight smile. Given the ability of the 3 from the ancient monster clan, they'll make short work of the Bone clan. That said, there are a few experts in the Bone clan, and they're bound to make some last-ditch effort. Even though it will not cost those 3 very much, it'll be enough to drain a considerable amount of spiritual power from them. We'll strike after they've wiped out the Bone clan, it'll help us greatly, said Army Saber solemnly. It's not necessary to wait until then. We act now, said Jian Wushuang unexpectedly in a low tone. He was standing in the middle of the 2 killers. What? They exclaimed, looking at Jian Wushuang in amazement. Waiting for Dao Master Nine Sword and his men to wipe out the Bone clan before making their move was definitely the best option, but Jian Wushuang. You're indeed quite merciful, sir, said Rakshasa with a slight smile. Let's move, replied Jian Wushuang, his tone extremely cold. The 2 killers exchanged one look with each other and nodded slightly. Jian Wushuang was their client, and naturally, they had to follow his instructions. Our task is to hold the 2 peak rank 3 Dao masters up. As for Dao Master Nine Sword, well, you've to handle him by yourself, said Army Saber. In the next instant, the 2 killers had drifted waif-like away and they arrived at the battlefield very quickly. The space in the void above the Bone clan's residential area had already burst open, and the sight was terrible to bear. Dozens of Dao masters from the Bone clan were joining forces and trying their best to stop the 2 peak rank 3 Dao masters from the ancient monster clan. As for Dao Master Nine Sword, he had not even made a single move. Even so, the Bone clan was hanging on to their survival by a thin thread. Within a short period, 4 of their Dao masters had already been slain. At this very moment, 2 waif-like figures dashed straight into the battlefield. Dao Master Nine Sword was observing the battle from the side, but his expression was gradually turning gloomy. Both Army Saber and Rakshasa possessed peak rank 3 Dao Masters' battle strength, and they were on par with their opponents. Combined with the strength of the Bone clan experts, the tables had now turned on his subordinates, and they were now completely suppressed. I didn't expect killers from the Blood Saber organization to show up. Things are turning tricky now. As the #1 organization of killers in the entire Samsara continent, its strength is extraordinarily great. Even our ancient monster clan is extremely wary of it, and now that their killers are present, I think it'll be impossible to wipe out the Bone clan today. Dao Master Nine Sword was still wondering to himself when all of a sudden, a figure suddenly appeared in the void beside him and rushed toward him. The aura of an Eternal Realm expert burst forth, it even contained an unparalleled rage. Damned ancient monster clan, I'll fight to the death with you people. A loud roar abruptly reverberated throughout the surrounding space. The attacker seemed to be someone from the Bone clan who had gone berserk and wanted to fight Dao Master Nine Sword to the death. Dao Master Nine Sword still stood at his original spot, and a look of disdain flashed across his face when he heard the roar coming from his side. He could not even bother to turn to look at his opponent and absent-mindedly struck a finger toward the void where his opponent was coming from. A ray of sword essence burst forth with amazing speed. Even though it was a move made casually by Tao Master Nine's sword, its power was extremely great. Even a rank 1 Tao Master could very possibly not survive the attack, much less an Eternal Realm expert. The sword essence leapt forward and at first, everything happened according to Tao Master Nine's sword's expectations. It appeared directly in front of his opponent, and there was no way the Eternal Realm expert could escape as it struck him square on the body. The Eternal Realm expert still continued advancing, but at a much reduced speed. The aura from him was also rapidly diminishing. "You're nothing but an ant, yet you wish to fight me to the death?" asked Tao Master Nine's sword with a contemptuous laugh. But suddenly, the Eternal Realm expert, whose speed had been greatly reduced, suddenly lifted his head and burst forth with a boom. The space behind him burst open, and his figure pierced through the void in an instant. He appeared in front of Tao Master Nine's sword simultaneously. Such speed was many times faster than those ordinary Tao Masters. "What?" exclaimed Tao Master Nine's sword, who could not help but feel extremely alarmed now. He turned his head immediately to look at his opponent. It was only at this very moment that he finally saw his enemy's face. His pupils shrank abruptly upon seeing it. He opened his mouth, trying to say something. Jian Wushuang laughed coldly. It sounded as chilly as the coldest winter. "Jiu Xiu, it's been a while since we last met each other," he said, every one of his words traveling deep into Tao Master Nine's sword's ears, causing all of the hairs on his body to stand up. Chapter 1036, Those Words at That Time. Chapter 1036, Those Words at That Time. Long time no see, Jiu Xiu. An extremely beautiful ray of sword light suddenly shone as Jian Wushuang finished speaking. It looked extremely perfect as it sliced easily through the void and appeared in front of Jiu Xiu. Not only did it travel with amazing speed, the instant it shone, there was also a strong consciousness attack rushing toward Jiu Xiu. Even so, Jiu Xiu's expression just changed slightly as he met the attack face-on. A gold ray of sword light came rushing forth. Why did my consciousness attack have no effect on him? And how did he manage to block my death shadow when it traveled so quickly, thought Jian Wushuang, feeling surprised. Clash! The sound of metal striking against metal rang out, as Jian Wushuang's death shadow was blocked. Jiu Xiu's figure had merely been knocked back, he did not suffer any serious wound. Jiu Xiu's strength is much greater than what was described in the research material, thought Jian Wushuang, a serious expression on his face. Is my plan actually failing? He had long known that Jiu Xiu was the precious treasure of the ancient monster clan and that he would have some moves up his sleeve. As such, Jian Wushuang had come up with a plan when he struck. It was to disguise himself as a clansman of the Bone Clan who had been driven insane and was looking to fight Jiu Xiu to the death. He would first draw near him and then sprang into action, using his death shadow to behead Jiu Xiu when he was unprepared before subduing him. As a Tao Master, even if Jiu Xiu had lost his head, he would still be alive as long as Jian Wushuang kept the life core in his body from completely disintegrating. Everything had gone according to Jian Wushuang's plan at first. He had purposely exposed the aura of an Eternal Realm expert when charging toward Jiu Xiu, and as Jiu Xiu was unaware of his true identity at first, it gave him the prime opportunity to strike. What he did not expect was that Jiu Xiu's strength was much greater than described. Most importantly, Jiu Xiu had been unaffected by his consciousness attack, resulting in his inability to behead Jiu Xiu at the very first instant. Since my plan has failed, I can only use the most simple and violent method of resolving this conflict, Jian Wushuang thought as a glow burst forth from his eyes and his killing intent skyrocketed. He then immediately charged forward. Since his sneak attack had failed, he would have to use brute force. Are you Jian Wushuang? Jiu Xiu was first surprised and angry, but he felt more bewildered than anything else later. He steadied himself and fixed his gaze on Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang, however, was in no mood for idle talk. He brandished the Blood Mountain sword with one hand, causing it to expand to a length of about 3 meters, before swinging. An extremely ferocious sword light descended upon Jiu Xiu. Not only was it ferocious, but it also seemed as though it could destroy everything in its path. This move was a swordsmanship created by Jian Wushuang himself based on the Scarlet Yang sword principle. It was different from the Death Shadow in nature. The move was forceful and mighty, destroying everything in its path. As such, Jian Wushuang named it the Heaven's Bane. Like its name suggested, its force was enough to split heaven and earth into two. This move, muttered Jiu Xiu as he observed the strike. There was a flash of surprise in his eyes before the golden longsword in his hand began expanding quickly as well. Whoosh! He swung his sword too, the frightening sword light tearing a hole about 300 meters long in the surrounding void. Soon, there was spatial turbulence around the opening, and combined with the devastating sword essence, a huge storm began to form all of a sudden and it started to expand in all directions. Both Jiu Xiu and Jian Wushuang were killed in sword principles. Furthermore, both of them had unleashed their strongest attacks in a head-on clash. Just as the two sword lights hit each other. Pfft! Jiu Xiu coughed out a large mouthful of blood and he began turning pale. Jian Wushuang, on the other hand, had not experienced any impact, it was as if nothing had happened to him. Humph, your strength may have been greater than described in the material I acquired, but you're at most close to peak rank 3 level. You're still far away from being able to take me on directly, scoffed Jian Wushuang, his tone icy cold. His voice reverberated throughout the space around them. His figure had once again turned into a sharp sword and it forcefully teared through the rampaging storm, unexpectedly striking at Jiu Xiu again. Evidently, he did not wish to give his opponent any respite. How is this possible? How could Jian Wushuang be so powerful? Jiu Xiu thought. He felt that it was incredible. When they had met in the ancient world, Jian Wushuang was as insignificant as an ant or even worse to him. Then, he could have killed Jian Wushuang over and over again with just one finger if he did not have any scruples. But what about now? Jiu Xiu thought. They had clashed head-on and unexpectedly, Jian Wushuang had completely crushed him, evidently, his opponent was much stronger. How many years have passed? It was only 2,000 years, right? It just took 2,000 years for him to progress to such a level, thought Jiu Xiu as he opened his eyes wide. At the same time, he could not help thinking about what Jian Wushuang told him at the Holy Emperor Palace in the ancient world. Every dog has its day, so don't look down on me just because I'm weak now. It was very simple and he had brushed it aside as immature and laughable, but now, it had a huge impact on him. It took him, an aborigine of the ancient world, just 2,000 years to catch up with and even surpass me, muttered Jiu Xiu. Jiu Xiu, I told you in the ancient world that I'll hunt you down and destroy you someday. Today, I'm going to make my promise come true, said Jian Wushuang, his voice loud enough to cause the heavens to shake. The Blood Mountain sword in his hand came swinging again. Whoosh! 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 One move came after another at an incredible speed. Jian Wushuang was displaying the entire range of his swordsmanships. You think you can do that? Retorted Jiu Xiu, his eyes turning red as well. There was also a hint of craziness in his eyes. He did not have any intention of blocking Jian Wushuang's attack, as he was very clear that he was no match for his opponent in terms of strength. He was, however, not anxious at all. He fished out a token just as the strike was about to hit him. He then immediately crushed it. Jian Wushuang, you'll die no matter how you manage to improve your strength, growled Jiu Xiu. His face had turned extraordinarily sinister, and it even began to distort. A bone-chilling power was unleashed the instant the token was destroyed. That's not good, said Jian Wushuang as his expression changed suddenly. Quick, retreat now. Gu Qing's growl rang in Jian Wushuang's mind. Jian Wushuang had retreated the instant he sensed the power being released, but it was guided by Jiu Xiu and had turned into a blood-red giant hand in an instant. It gave immense pressure to every living thing in the vicinity. The skies changed color the moment the giant hand formed, and the void collapsed in an instant. It then began crushing down on Jian Wushuang's position. Chapter 1037, Suppression. Chapter 1037, Suppression. Boom. The giant hand possessed immense destructive power, and it covered the void around Jian Wushuang entirely, even locking down his movements completely in the process. Even though Jian Wushuang possessed great speed, he could not escape from the effective range of the giant hand and could only watch helplessly as it came crushing down. This is an attack from a celestial master, and not just any ordinary one to boot. You have to be careful, Jian Wushuang, said Gu Qing, sounding extraordinarily solemn. Right, agreed Jian Wushuang, nodding heavily. I've expected Jiu Xiu to have some tricks up his sleeve, but I never expected him to possess a token containing a celestial master's attack. Jian Wushuang looked serious as he stared at the giant hand. He could feel its power, and he understood that it was many times more powerful than the strongest blow of Dao Master Dreamless Spear. Even though it was an entry-level technique that was just at the celestial master level, it had wounded him seriously. Now, this giant hand, he thought. No matter what, I can't wait to be killed. He looked a little unhinged as the ancient god power came gushing forth into his right arm. Second finger of the ancient god, star extinguishing. Boom. As he struck his finger out, the image of an ancient god appeared out of nowhere, and it mirrored Jian Wushuang's action. Its giant gold finger, which encompassed the power to shatter stars, struck directly at the giant blood-red hand. This move was currently the strongest technique in Jian Wushuang's arsenal. In terms of power, it was much greater than that of the Heaven's Bane he used earlier. Bump. The giant gold finger made direct contact with the giant hand. The instant they touched, the space around them began rupturing, creating a black hole hundreds of kilometers long in the process. The black hole spread with astounding speed, affecting a number of clansmen from the Bone Clan who were nearby. They immediately crumbled into dust particles the instant they were swallowed up by the black hole. There was no way they could struggle away. Two kinds of terrible powers were in a head-on collision. Contrary to belief, such clashes only lasted for an instant, even shorter than the time it took to take a breath. The giant gold finger that was unleashed by Jian Wushuang had been utterly destroyed. There was nothing else stopping the giant hand, and it resumed its path toward Jian Wushuang. I can only rely on the blood-killing plate armor now, Jian Wushuang said, the fire of defiance raging in his eyes. The terrible hand covered Jian Wushuang completely before its power was completely unleashed. All of a sudden, heaven and earth started to split open. The terrible ripples from the clash had swept toward the edge of the battlefield, and even the Dao masters standing around the sides looked fearful and dared not to get in contact. The technique had even more devastating effect at the epicenter of the clash. You should feel proud, Jian Wushuang, that you forced me to use my life-saving item, said Jiu Xiu as he stood in the void, his chilling gaze fixed to the front. In his opinion, only a celestial master could withstand such a terrible blast. Even though Jian Wushuang was powerful, he was still in essence just an eternal realm expert. He would surely be unable to survive after being caught in the center of the blast. Suddenly, however, ching! A piercing wind-breaking sound suddenly rang out. What? Asked Jiu Xiu incredulously as his expression changed. He immediately turned to see a pale purple lightsaber racing toward him vaguely. There was a figure dressed in black robes standing at the void from where the lightsaber came flying out from, and it was undoubtedly Jian Wushuang. How is this possible? Thought Jiu Xiu, his eyes wide open with surprise. How is it that he's perfectly fine after being hit by such a fearsome attack? Also, when did he arrive behind me? Even though Jiu Xiu was full of amazement, he still managed to block the lightsaber with his own sword. The lightsaber was knocked backward with a resounding clash, as was Jiu Xiu. More importantly, he was headed toward the spot where the might of the giant hand had been unleashed, and the turbulent energy storm created earlier had not subsided entirely. Just at this moment, a ghost-like figure came dashing out from the energy storm. Even though the person cut a sorry figure, he possessed amazing speed, and he struck at Jiu Xiu's figure with his long sword. The sword stroke was as perfect as before, and even though consciousness attack had little effect on Jiu Xiu, it was still made with great speed. The sword light dashed across the void mercilessly. Jiu Xiu could only feel a painful sensation at his throat as his head was detached from his neck and flew off. "Is that, doppelganger?" Jiu Xiu asked, his pupils wide open. He had finally realized what was happening, but it was too late. "Sword Mountain, suppress." Jian Wushuang growled. The Blood Mountain sword in his hand began to transform. What was originally a blood-red sword, which epitomized endless killing, had transformed into a huge mountain in an instant. It descended from above and came pressing down upon Jiu Xiu's torso. At the height of his powers, Jiu Xiu would not have been suppressed by Jian Wushuang, but he had been beheaded, and even though he was still alive, he had temporarily lost the ability to act. There was a buzzing sound as a black hole appeared at the bottom of the mountain, and countless mysterious cracks came swarming out of it. They soon engulfed the entire area and formed into a vast spell formation. The formation had wrapped over Jiu Xiu's body. No! Only a growl could be heard from him as he was entirely swallowed up by the black hole. Soon, no sound was coming from him. With a wave of his hand, the mountain transformed back into sword form and reappeared in Jian Wushuang's hand. As he stroked the sword, Jian Wushuang could sense the trapped Jiu Xiu. "I succeeded." His eyes were bright with glee, and his slaughter body appeared at his side. He had made detailed preparations before attempting the suppression. Other than making a sneak attack, he had hidden his slaughter body nearby, waiting for the right moment to unleash it. He had succeeded because it attacked at the right moment and was in sync with the movements of his world body. That giant hand was really powerful. I wonder which holy master of the ancient demon clan did it originate from? Jian Wushuang muttered. Its power was not reduced in the least bit even after being hit by his second finger of the ancient god, and it had even pressed onto Jian Wushuang. Luckily, the blood-killing plate armor he was wearing reduced most of the impact, and he managed to withstand the rest of it as his body was extremely tough, due to the fact that he was a 3-star imperial god. Even though he was seriously wounded, it was not enough to destroy him. Chapter 1038, I've earned. Chapter 1038, I've earned. Of course, even though I was tough and muscular and I also had the protection of the blood-killing plate armor, it's still insufficient to withstand the attack of a real celestial master. If there were more attacks like that just now, I would have been unable to hold on, Jian Wushuang thought. He shook his head and then looked toward the battle happening at his side. The other battle was still raging on while Jian Wushuang and Jiu Xiu were locking horns. The two guards of the latter had seen their leader in danger and wanted to come to his rescue, but unfortunately, Army Saber and Rakshasa were keeping them occupied. There was no way they could free themselves up. The shock on their faces was evident when they witnessed Jiu Xiu being suppressed by Jian Wushuang. "Release Dao Master 9 Sword quickly, or the ancient monster clan will hunt you to the ends of the earth and make sure there's nothing left of your body," roared the barbarian wielding the giant axe. "Hee, to the ends of the earth? Talk to me again when you can really do that," giggled Jian Wushuang before tossing an interspatial ring in Army Saber's direction. "This is your balance payment, Army Saber. I hope you can keep them occupied for a while longer," said Jian Wushuang. The killer received the ring and gave it the once-over. "Both of us can delay them for another 15 minutes. The experts of the ancient monster clan will arrive shortly after that time and both of us have to leave before that happens," he replied, nodding. "That's enough," said Jian Wushuang, smiling slightly. He then turned and dashed toward the vast space toward their back, not giving any further attention to the other people present. "Bastard, don't flee if you dare," shouted the barbarian after Jian Wushuang. "Fool, he's already captured Dao Master 9's sword. Do you mean that he should remain behind like an idiot for the experts from your clan to arrive?" replied Army Saber sarcastically. Accursed, shouted the barbarian, his expression extremely unpleasant. He and the other peak rank 3 Dao master had very much wanted to shake Army Saber and Rakshasa loose and chase after Jian Wushuang, but they were evenly matched, and furthermore, both killers were especially skilled at holding their opponents up. They could not hope to go anywhere as long as Army Saber and Rakshasa kept coming at them. The two killers stuck to their promise and tangled with their opponents for exactly 15 minutes more. After the allotted time was up, their figures began retreating. Now that 15 minutes is up, Army Saber and I will not stop both of you from going where you want, Rakshasa said as she laughed demurely. You two bastards. The 2 Dao masters looked extremely grim, and even though they were free to move now, they had already lost the motivation to chase after Jian Wushuang. After all, 15 minutes had already gone by. It was a short period of time, but their strength enabled them to fight for many rounds during this period. It was also enough time for Jian Wushuang to have fled thousands of kilometers away, and without proper guidance, it would be pointless to chase after someone at such a far distance away, they would just be lost. The ancient monster clan will remember what happened today, Army Saber and Rakshasa. If anything happens to Dao Master Nine Sword, the entire Blood Saber organization will accompany him in death, growled the barbarian. Humph, do you think that will scare us? Replied Army Saber, entirely disregarding the warning. Even though the ancient monster clan is strong, our organization is no pushover either. If you guys really want to come after us, I can't say what will happen to us, but your clansmen will only be able to remain indoors for the rest of your lives. We'll assassinate anyone that steps outdoors, added Rakshasa in a chilly tone. It made the barbarian even angrier. Fine. We shall see. Let's go, the barbarian said. He then left with the other Dao master. They were already in no mood to exterminate the Bone clan. Army Saber and Rakshasa were standing side by side in the void above the Bone clan district. This time, the ancient monster clan must be mad with rage, said Army Saber coldly. Hee, after all, something did happen to Dao Master Nine Sword, their precious darling. It would be weird if they didn't go berserk, giggled Rakshasa. I'm more curious about our client than the reaction of the ancient monster clan. Earlier on, when he told us to hold the 2 guards, I thought that he would assign another expert to handle Dao Master Nine Sword. Who would have thought that he would do it by himself? Furthermore, he succeeded in suppressing Dao Master Nine Sword. When the Dao Master unleashed his trump card, the Celestial Master's attack, he actually survived. Only one person in the entire Samsara continent, nay, the entire Green Fire world, could be an Eternal Realm expert and yet have such ability. Jian Wushuang, exclaimed Army Saber as he squinted slightly. Both killers had guessed their client's identity after watching him suppress Dao Master Nine Sword. The answer was so obvious that not much guessing was really required. Jian Wushuang was the only Eternal Realm expert in the Green Fire world that possessed so much skill and tactics that defied the natural order of things. I didn't expect our client to be the Jian Wushuang who was so famous of late, said Rakshasa as she laughed softly. He's really daring. Previously, he killed the only son of Empyrean Patriarch, leading him to place a bounty of 20 Chaos Gems on his head. It resulted in everyone wanting a piece of him, but now, he wants to go against the even scarier ancient monster clan, and even managed to offend them so greatly, Tisk, Army Saber added, secretly admiring Jian Wushuang. Oh yes, his whereabouts are worth 20 Chaos Gems. Should we, started Rakshasa, but she was soon cut off by her partner. I've already reported the entire matter, and whatever those old fellas decide on has nothing to do with us. Our task is completed, and it's best for us to leave, said Army Saber. Right. Rakshasa nodded, and both of them immediately prepared to leave. Only the experts of the Bone clan remained, and every one of them was puzzled. They had not managed to figure out the entire chain of events up till now. In the same isolated shop in the Emperor Heart City, the skinny elder that had served Jian Wushuang had now received the message transmitted back by Army Saber. Oh. So, That kid's Jian Wushuang, said the skinny elder. He was surprised at first, but soon, he began to understand. Actually, I should have thought about it earlier. How could any ordinary Eternal Realm expert hand over 28 Chaos Gems just like that? To think that Empyrean Patriarch was hell-bent on finding him. Who would have guessed that our Blood Saber organization would be the first to know where he is, he continued, a slight smile forming on his lips. He then took out a token and informed Empyrean Patriarch about Jian Wushuang's whereabouts. This mission, although offended the ancient monster clan, but got 28 Chaos Gems, plus 20 more from Empyrean Patriarch, nearly 50, I earned. Chapter 1039, Shaking with Rage. Chapter 1039, Shaking with Rage. To think that Jian Wushuang would have fled to the divine monster territory. First, he offended me, and now, he's causing so many problems for the ancient monster clan. The eyes of Empyrean Patriarch glowed as he received the news. Now the Tao Master 9 sword has been captured alive, the ancient monster clan will be hell-bent on hunting down Jian Wushuang. Even so, that kid can only be killed by me. Set forth, 10 protectors. In this manner, Empyrean Patriarch led the 10 protectors to the divine monster territory. At the same time, something was happening within the ancient monster clan. News of Tao Master 9 sword's capture by Jian Wushuang immediately reached them, causing the clansmen to shake with rage. Everyone in the Samsara continent knows that 9 sword is our darling. How dare you, Jian Wushuang? Luckily, I had left a mysterious crack on 9 sword's body a long time ago as a precaution. Since there's still a reaction from it, he should still be alive. I'll go to fetch 9 sword back personally. Along the way, I'll destroy that Jian Wushuang. As such, Celestial Master Winter Whistle, one of the 3 Celestial Masters of the ancient monster clan, set forth to rescue Zhou Xiu. Since leaving the Bone Clan district, Jian Wushuang had been traveling forward. Zhou Xiu. Jian Wushuang's gaze was icy cold as he transmitted his consciousness into the Blood Mountain sword. He also triggered a few restrictions within the tip of the sword as well. These restrictions were brutal and could cause a lot of suffering and pain to the intended victim. Zhou Xiu's body had already been restored, but wave after wave of restrictions began to torture him now. The deep pain he felt caused his face to completely distort. I want to know everything about my mother, as well as her current location. Tell me all of it, or else, Jian Wushuang said. Zhou Xiu managed to squeeze out a thin smile from his contorted face upon hearing his captor's request. It looked extremely hideous. Jian Wushuang, are you taking me for a fool? If I tell you everything, would I still be alive? You'll still die even if you keep quiet, replied Jian Wushuang coldly. Then we shall see who gets to die first, retorted Zhou Xiu, looking very unhinged. He was very clear that the reason he was still alive was that Jian Wushuang wanted to know about some secrets from him. As such, there was a possibility he could survive if he refused to cooperate. After all, the Celestial Master from the ancient monster clan was on the way to rescue him. He was sure that Jian Wushuang would kill him outright without hesitation if he started speaking. You are indeed stubborn. I want to see how long you can withstand this torture, Jian Wushuang said firmly in a low voice. He unleashed the power of the restrictions again, causing the pain Zhou Xiu was facing to increase by many times. Zhou Xiu could only try his best to withstand it. Also, there was someone else in the tip of the sword. He began shouting desperately now. Jian Wushuang, how you want to torture him has nothing to do with me. Absolutely nothing at all. Your restrictions are affecting me too, arg. Halt immediately. The person's screams were pitiful and terrible. Evidently, he was undergoing huge torment. Oh, is that Su Ming? Jian Wushuang sneered. Many years ago, Jian Wushuang had trapped Su Ming, the traitor of the bloodline of the sword ancestor, in the tip of his sword, torturing him as and when he liked. After so many years of continuous suffering, the traitor had long lost his temper, and Jian Wushuang had lost interest in trying to make him suffer. Today, however, Jian Wushuang had trapped Jiu Xiu in the same sword and began to impose restrictions again. Even though Jiu Xiu bore the brunt of it, a small portion of it was still transmitted to Su Ming. Naturally, Su Ming hollered as he started to suffer all over again. Jian Wushuang, however, was not bothered by him. There are many restrictions in the tip of the sword that can be used to torture, and they are all very powerful. It's a pity that I can't trigger some of them now, muttered Jian Wushuang to himself. It had been many years since he obtained the Blood Mountain sword. It could be used to kill and suppress. Jian Wushuang was fully aware of the sword's usefulness in killing. It was even better than many emperor weapons. That said, he felt that its second function was even more exceptional. The only problem was that he was still unable to unlock the full potential of said function. The treasures my teacher gave me are all unique in their own right, as if the Blood Mountain sword, he continued muttering. It's indeed unique, Gu King said suddenly. Before, I also thought of it as merely a stronger emperor weapon, but I soon realized that it was so special that it was beyond a magic weapon, mostly due to its suppression capability. Just this function alone increases its worth by a lot, perhaps, it's even as valuable as the blood-killing plate armor you obtained. Jian Wushuang could not help but laugh as he heard Gu King's comments. The armor is an extremely rare and wonderful chaos magic treasure. If the sword is of about the same value as it must be very powerful. In the entire Green Fire world, even some of the strongest Samsara and Void Temple Masters or Tang Emperor did not possess any chaos magic treasure, but Jian Wushuang already had two. Besides, he also had an incomplete mountain river map, which could also be classified as a chaos divine treasure. We shall keep Jiu Xiu in the tip of the sword for a while longer. I don't believe that he won't crack after receiving a certain amount of torture over time, thought Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang, I'm afraid things are not as easy as you think, Gu King's voice suddenly rang out. What's wrong? Asked Jian Wushuang, furrowing his eyebrows. I just noticed that Jiu Xiu had a mysterious crack on his body. If I guess correctly, it was purposely made by one of the ancient monster clan's celestial masters. They probably will be able to sense his location from the tattoo, said Gu King. What? Asked Jian Wushuang, his expression changing. Even though such a tactic was not very useful under normal circumstances, it would come in handy during emergency situations such as this. It was exactly like the time when Tang Emperor had left a mark on Leng Rushuang when she left. He then gave Jian Wushuang a token so that he could use it to find his wife if he went venturing in the eternal chaotic world. The tattoo on Jiu Xiu worked in the same way. The ancient monster clan had put it on Jiu Xiu solely to protect him. The ancient monster clan can hunt you down easily as long as the mysterious crack exists. If everything goes according to my expectations, one of their celestial masters is already on his way here, Gu King said. Gu King, can't you get rid of it? Asked Jian Wushuang. I can remove it within half a day's time if he doesn't resist. If he does, it'll be much harder to get rid of it, said Gu King in a deep tone. It'll take half a day even if he cooperates, replied Jian Wushuang, frowning. It was way too long, the expert from the ancient monster clan would have caught up with him long before that. Chapter 1040, It's Worth a Risk. Chapter 1040, It's Worth a Risk. Jian Wushuang, that Jiu Xiu is acting so tough because he knows that the expert from the ancient monster clan will come to his rescue. It'll be impossible for you to extract the information you need from him before they arrive, therefore I suggest you kill him outright, suggested Gu King solemnly. Kill him? Jian Wushuang asked as he squinted slightly. He was full of killing intent when faced with Jiu Xiu. Indeed, he wanted Jiu Xiu dead immediately. Before that could happen, however, he still needed to find out about his mother's whereabouts and also many secrets about the ancient monster clan. I spent so much effort in capturing Jiu Xiu, and now that I have a chance to find out where my mother is, how could I give up so easily? Asked Jian Wushuang as he clenched his fists together, feeling increasingly indignant. Right, I'm indignant, he thought. He spent so much effort to subdue Jiu Xiu and had even given up 28 chaos gems just to hire the 2 killers from the Blood Saber organization to help him. He did all these because he had wanted Jiu Xiu to tell him what he wanted to know. If I merely wanted him dead, why would I go through so much trouble? Now that I've subdued Jiu Xiu, how could I allow all my effort to go to waste out of fear of the ancient monster clan's expert? Jian Wushuang's eyes glinted with a sharp glare as he thought about the matter. Whiz! Jian Wushuang, who had been traversing quickly, suddenly stopped in his tracks. His slaughter body had suddenly appeared. He passed his interspatial ring, along with many other treasures, to the slaughter body. Have you really made up your mind, Jian Wushuang? Gu Qing's voice rang in his head again. Right, nodded Jian Wushuang heavily. I'll let my slaughter body carry my treasures, including the mountain river map, into hiding, so that my life will be secure. Then, my world body will bring my blood mountain sword and blood-killing plate armor to engage the ancient monster clan. I have many tricks up my sleeve, and now that Jiu Xiu is in my hands, I can contend with and even discuss terms with the ancient monster clan. Even if we end up trying to kill each other, they cannot kill my world body. Also, even if my world body is somehow destroyed by the ancient monster clan, I'll just be losing the blood mountain sword and the blood-killing plate armor. I won't be dying there. I can still try to get my items back if I lose them, but if I lose this chance to interrogate Jiu Xiu, I may never get another shot at him. My father did not hesitate when he made the irreversible decision to become a reincarnator, all because he wanted to have a chance of meeting my mother again, even though it was only a slight one. Today, I have the rare chance of knowing where my mother is, and it's definitely a risk worth taking. Jian Wushuang spoke in a low tone, his expression serious. He had already made up his mind. In this case, go for it. With your blood-killing plate armor and my restorative power, even a celestial master would not find it easy to kill you, said Gu Qing solemnly. Jian Wushuang could not control his emotions and gave off a laugh. His slaughter body immediately began hiding in a secluded spot, while his world body carried the Blood Mountain sword, along with Jiu Xiu, who was suppressed in it, to continue traversing forward. Whilst doing so, he kept increasing the suffering and pressure on Jiu Xiu. He was now in a contest with Jiu Xiu to see who could hang on for a longer time. Either Jiu Xiu would give up trying to withstand the suffering of being restricted within the Sword Mountain and tell Jian Wushuang everything he wanted to know, or Jian Wushuang would be found by the expert from the ancient monster clan and be destroyed. Whoever lasted longer would emerge as the victor. After Jian Wushuang had finished making preparations for his risky venture, the expert from the ancient monster clan was already drawing near. Soon, I'm already close. Celestial Master Winter Whistle from the ancient monster clan appeared as a flash of lightning as he zoomed through the void, his gaze fixed in front. He could sense that the mysterious crack on Jiu Xiu's body was somewhere in the distance. 1 more hour, I can catch up with him by 1 hour at most. 9 Sword, I hope you can hold on for another hour, muttered the Celestial Master. Just at this moment, Celestial Master Winter Whistle, a message suddenly came to him. The Celestial Master's expression changed and he took out a token immediately. Empyrean Patriarch, asked Celestial Master Winter Whistle, feeling surprised. He had seen Empyrean Patriarch once before personally, but they were not really acquainted with one another. He possessed the message token because Empyrean Patriarch had some issues with the ancient monster clan in the past. Even so, Celestial Master Winter Whistle knew about the bounty of 20 chaos gems that he had placed on Jian Wushuang. He had already known what he wanted. Empyrean Patriarch, are you here for that, Jian Wushuang? Celestial Master Winter Whistle transmitted his reply. Yes, replied Empyrean Patriarch. He killed my son, and naturally, I have to kill him to take revenge for my son. I heard that you're after him as well, and unless I'm mistaken, you've already locked on to his position, right? Indeed I am, nodded Celestial Master Winter Whistle. Tell me his current location. I want to cut that young fool into pieces, said Empyrean Patriarch coldly. I can tell you his position, but I hope that you can assure the safety of Tao Master Nine's sword when you strike, Empyrean Patriarch, replied Celestial Master Winter Whistle. Oh. He's not dead yet, said Empyrean Patriarch as he laughed nonchalantly, but he then nodded and continued, I promise you. That's good. His current location is. Celestial Master Winter Whistle showed Empyrean Patriarch where Jian Wushuang currently was. Empyrean Patriarch hurried to the location with a few experts. Ha, it just happens that the young fool is fleeing toward my current spot. If everything goes as expected, we will meet soon, Empyrean Patriarch said in a clear voice. Empyrean Patriarch, please remember to ensure that Tao Master Nine's sword will be safe, Celestial Master Winter Whistle kept reminding. Under the infinite void was a vast plain. Jian Wushuang, who was wearing a blood-red long robe and carrying a long sword on his back, was traversing forward at great speed. I've lost exactly 4 hours since subduing Jiu Xiu. I believe the expert from the ancient monster clan is nearby now, muttered Jian Wushuang. When he lifted his head, however, he could clearly see a headstrong old man with neat, short hair and a slender face standing at the peak of a hill at the far end of his view. The elder was as sharp as an eagle and he looked directly toward Jian Wushuang, his sight piercing through the void. Just his gaze alone made Jian Wushuang feel fearful without being aware of it. He had stopped abruptly and looked at the elder too. I'm Empyrean Patriarch. An angry voice rang out, and it sounded like the endless rumbling of thunder bursting forth from the endless void, passing to Jian Wushuang's ears at the same time. Empyrean Patriarch, thought Jian Wushuang as he got a huge shock. Chapter 1041, Bash My Way Through. Chapter 1041, Bash My Way Through. The ancient monster clan is already exerting enormous pressure on me by itself, now even Empyrean Patriarch is here. Things are turning bad really quickly. Jian Wushuang. I've finally found you. Empyrean Patriarch fixed his gaze on Jian Wushuang before making his move. Even though there was a considerable distance between them, Empyrean Patriarch's huge hand came stretching toward Jian Wushuang, continuously expanding as it passed through the void. It came smashing toward Jian Wushuang, finally growing to the height of a huge mountain. Jian Wushuang steeled himself and decided to meet the attack head-on with his sword. Heaven's Bane. Immense ancient god power gushed into his arms in an instant, allowing Jian Wushuang to completely unleash the power of the 3 sword principles he created. Break through the attack. His move was extremely powerful and strong, and it smashed directly into the huge mountain. Bang! There was a huge sound and large amounts of power began to disperse into the surrounding at an insane speed, as if a lot of rocks were rolling off from the huge mountain. Jian Wushuang grunted softly before stumbling a few steps back. He's too strong. Jian Wushuang looked a little dumbstruck. Empyrean Patriarch had just casually struck at him, and the power of his blow was already buffered by the great distance between them, but yet, Jian Wushuang's swordsmanship had been completely outclassed and he was even knocked back. Such power! You really deserve your fearsome reputation, Empyrean Patriarch, your strength is indeed formidable. Jian Wushuang gushed. Humph, yours is not too bad as well, you managed to withstand my attack. It's no wonder that you managed to kill my son. Today, however, I will have my revenge, roared Empyrean Patriarch. Revenge? Let's see if you have the capability to do that, growled Jian Wushuang. The next instant, however, he turned abruptly and dashed toward the void at his side. Evidently, he wanted to escape. Are you trying to escape? Empyrean Patriarch sneered. Do you think you'll be able to do that? The look on Jian Wushuang's face changed as he saw 10 figures suddenly appearing at the void before him. What? He exclaimed. The figures stood side by side, all of them giving off an aura of dominance. There was exactly 3 peak rank 3 Dao masters amongst them, while the other 7 were close to achieving that status. They were the 10 protectors of Empyrean Patriarch. At this moment, they stood before Jian Wushuang, blocking his retreat. Empyrean Patriarch is before me, while the expert of the ancient monster clan is close behind. Furthermore, my only escape route is blocked by these 10 people, said Jian Wushuang as his expression turned grim. Very quickly, however, there was a look of craziness in his eyes. The only remaining option left is for me to bash my way through. I don't have a choice. The killing intent in Jian Wushuang multiplied quickly, as did the might of the Blood Mountain sword in his hand. He easily navigated his way through the void in a phantom-like manner, and he did not slow down in the least bit even though he knew that 10 powerful Dao masters were in his way. He's got guts. He's trying to force his way through us. Humph, he's overconfident. Since he's courting death, let's fulfill his wish. Each of the 10 Dao masters wore a chilling look. Swish. 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 All of them struck simultaneously, just as Jian Wushuang was drawing near. They had joined forces to take Jian Wushuang down. All of them were extremely powerful Dao masters, and there were even 3 that possessed peak rank 3 strength. All of the attacks made were either quick and violent, berserk in nature or lightning fast. Jian Wushuang looked unhinged himself as he rapidly struck out with the Blood Mountain sword. Swoosh! 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 Ray after ray of sword light flew toward the protectors. Jian Wushuang had unleashed the entire might of the Aurora sword principle as well as his own swordsmanship. Sounds of weapons clashing rang out, and even though Jian Wushuang had used his full repertoire of skills, he only managed to block 6 of them. The other 4 hit him without any buffer, but luckily his defensive capabilities were so strong that they defied the natural order. As a result, not much damage was done and he only felt his blood churning. The kid's defense is indeed strong. So what? If the 10 of us join forces, he'll still be dead by the end of the day. Kill him. The killing intent of the 10 Dao masters multiplied and in an instant, wave after wave of fearsome attacks came raining down upon Jian Wushuang again. Wait, my swordsmanship is still too slow. I have to be quicker so that I can block all of their attacks at the same time. Jian Wushuang was looking pale, but at this moment, he was feeling completely calm. He was in a state of unprecedented calmness and concentration. It was what made Jian Wushuang unique. The tougher the situation, the clearer his thoughts became. His eyes suddenly gleamed as he saw the attacks coming. Get lost, all of you. Buzz. He unleashed his fearsome swordsmanship. It looked as if he had just made one blow with his sword, but in reality, 10 sword lights had been released in an instant. Not only were they traveling at amazing speed, but each of them were also terribly powerful. They seemed to smash right into the Dao Master's attacks simultaneously, and their power was completely unleashed. Suddenly, the 10 Dao Masters were knocked back. Jian Wushuang took the opportunity to sneak his way through their ranks. Just like this, he managed to slip out easily from their encirclement. He immediately began to flee at an astounding speed the moment he shook free of their attacks. The 10 Dao Masters, who took a while to steady themselves, were all feeling surprisingly excitable at having witnessed his escape. How was that possible? How could his swordsmanship be so quick? It happened so fast that even though he made 10 moves in one shot, it gave one the feeling that he only made one. 3 of us are at peak rank 3 while the rest are advanced rank 3 Dao Masters. We couldn't stop him even after joining forces. The Dao Masters were dumbstruck. Empyrean Patriarch, who had not taken part in the attack and was standing on the mountain, felt extremely surprised too. He thought that there was no way Jian Wushuang could have escaped the combined might of his 10 protectors, and he did not expect his hated enemy to bash his way through their barricade. He started to feel restless. A bunch of trash, he shouted at the Dao Masters. In the next instant, his figure had turned into a pitch-black flowing light as it chased after Jian Wushuang with terrifying speed. He was the swiftest member of the Sky-Devouring clan and he was known as the Sky-Devouring Bat. As such, he was most confident about his speed. He was so much faster than Jian Wushuang that he soon appeared close behind his enemy, even though Jian Wushuang had a huge head start. Empyrean Patriarch is extremely fast. I've achieved a breakthrough in my E-Aurora Sword principle and made it reach the universe level, so my speed has increased greatly. Even so, the disparity between his speed and mine is very obvious, Jian Wushuang thought. He had also noticed Empyrean Patriarch's appearance. Chapter 1042, Fleeing for My Life. Chapter 1042, Fleeing for My Life. A moment ago, Jian Wushuang had achieved a breakthrough in his Aurora Sword principle. It was the second sword principle that he created. His sword principles had kept improving during his 50 years in the Firmament territory after leaving the Rock Demon clan. His Coalescence sword principle had achieved the universe level, while his Aurora sword principle was close to achieving that level. Jian Wushuang had remained extremely calm when faced with the encirclement of the 10 Dao Masters earlier on, but his hidden potential had been unleashed, resulting in his breakthrough in the Aurora sword principle. He managed to block all of the 10 Dao Masters' attacks and even knock them back due to this sudden increase in speed of his swordsmanship. Since all three of my sword principles have reached the universe level, my overall strength must have increased again. I'm currently still no match for a celestial master, but I must be close, Jian Wushuang thought to himself. Jian Wushuang, why are you still thinking about such things now? You should be coming up with a plan to shake off Empyrean Patriarch. He is a sky-devouring bat at the Holy Master level and much quicker than you. Furthermore, he has not shown his original form. Once he does, his speed will surely be increased by many times, Gu Qing's voice rang out again. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. He had also noticed that the distance between Empyrean Patriarch and himself was drawing ever nearer. He estimated that Empyrean Patriarch would be able to catch up with him after a little while more. I don't have a choice. I can only go all in and hope for the best, Jian Wushuang thought. He clasped his hands together and said, Gu Qing, lend me all your strength. Fine, Gu Qing nodded. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes once again. Dragon Blood Secret Skill. Buzz. In an instant, the vast amounts of spiritual power in Jian Wushuang's body began to ignite. Layers of blood-red vapor were emitted from his body. With spiritual power raging in his body, his speed had increased tenfold all of an instant. Whoosh! He seemed to have completely transformed into a ray of blood-red light as he zoomed across the void, covering thousands of kilometers in an instant. Empyrean Patriarch, who was close behind and catching up to Jian Wushuang, was shocked upon seeing the change in speed of his enemy. What's going on? How did that brat's speed increase by so much all of a sudden? It felt as though it increased more than tenfold in an instant. Jian Wushuang had already surprised Empyrean Patriarch with his speed earlier on, but now, with the sudden huge increase, his speed had already exceeded that of a rank 3 Dao Master. Even an ordinary Celestial Master would be hard-pressed to match his current speed. What secret skill did he use? Empyrean Patriarch thought, frowning. He deduced that Jian Wushuang must have used some special secret skill to achieve the huge sudden increase in speed. Even though there was no lack of secret skills in the green fire world that could increase one's speed quickly, they grew less effective once the user's strength improved. A secret skill sold in the Divine Monster territory not long ago was a good example. It could increase a rank 3 Dao Master's speed by 2 times, but only 30% of a Celestial Master's speed. Even so, it was treated like treasure and sought after by many experts. 2 Celestial Masters even personally appeared at the auction to compete with one another for ownership of the skill. Now, however, Jian Wushuang's secret skill could increase his speed by 10 times. What did this mean? Empyrean Patriarch thought. Humph, he grunted. He then unleashed one of his secret skills as well, resulting in him being able to move at maximum speed. Even so, he could only remain far behind Jian Wushuang and was unable to close up the distance between them. Humph, even though his secret skill is effective, he surely has to pay a high price for using it. I don't believe that the brat can keep this up for long, Empyrean Patriarch muttered, his gaze chilling. Jian Wushuang's speed did not diminish in the least bit. Haha, Jian Wushuang, you have many tricks up your sleeve. It's the first time I saw you use this secret skill. I didn't expect that your speed could increase so greatly by burning off the spiritual power in you. Such a secret skill is rarely seen even in the eternal chaotic world, Gu King said, his laughter ringing in Jian Wushuang's mind. It's a secret skill passed on to me by my teacher. Even though I have to pay a steep price for using it, it's definitely most useful when fleeing, replied Jian Wushuang. Your teacher is indeed formidable. He has so many tactics and treats you extremely well. He gave you so many wonderful things, said Gu King, laughing. I still remember his kindness and good deeds toward me. However, he told me that he could only give me these things, and that if I still had any wishes to fulfill, I had to pay my own price for them, Jian Wushuang replied. Right. That's normal. A teacher that really cares for his disciple will never overly pamper him or her. It's more than enough for him to have given you these treasures, Gu King said. Let's leave that aside for now. Gu King, I'm expending a lot of my spiritual power. Can you help me regenerate quickly enough? Asked Jian Wushuang. I can't help you completely recover if you expend your spiritual power too quickly, even if I gave it my all. I could, however, help you to continue using it for a much longer time. Let's say if you can maintain usage of the secret skill for 1 day by yourself. I could extend that to 3 days at least, replied Gu King solemnly. That's more than enough, Jian Wushuang said as he smiled. At the same time, he fished out a few elixirs. He got them from the experts he killed, and they could help him recover his spiritual power. Even though he had left most of his treasures with his slaughter body, he retained a few of them on his world body. Most of them were meant for treating injuries, and 2 of them were elixirs that could help him recover half of his spiritual power instantly. They were left to him by Dao Yuanzi. With these elixirs and Gu King's aid, he believed he could maintain the amount of spiritual power burned by using the first level of Dragon Blood secret skill for a few days and possibly even much longer. Furthermore, he believed that Jiu Xiu could not possibly continue to withstand the restrictions for more than a few days. 2 figures, one chasing after the other, had traversed across thousands of kilometers of space in only an instant. Empyrean Patriarch had originally believed that Jian Wushuang could not have withstood the usage of his secret skill for long, but as time passed. 7 minutes, 15 minutes. 1 hour. 2 hours. Jian Wushuang did not seem to be slowing down even after 4 hours. Instead, Empyrean Patriarch had to start consuming elixirs to maintain usage of his own secret skill. He had also used up much of his spiritual power. Both of them had traversed across great distances during these 4 hours, passing by many districts of different populations and cities. Many experts were shocked by the wild chase. Chapter 1043, Great Commotion. Chapter 1043, Great Commotion. The pursuit caused quite a commotion despite having gone on for only 4 hours. It was a great commotion, in fact. It rippled through the divine monster territory, and even the Samsara continent. I've repeatedly warned Jian Wushuang to be careful and keep a low profile, but it's like he's deliberately going around and causing trouble. To think that he'd once again suppress Dao Master Jiu Jian of the ancient demon clan. Elder Ding Mo of the inner hall of the Samsara temple said with admiration, shaking his head after hearing the news. Jian Wushuang sure has guts. He killed Patriarch of Empyrean Glory's son and then suppressed Dao Master Jiu Jian of the ancient demon clan. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory is now going after him, and the ancient demon clan certainly won't let him off either. Will he be able to survive this time? Dreamless Tao Master followed suit in sighing. Jian Wushuang, Dragon Wing Governor, felt worried for Jian Wushuang after hearing the news. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory alone is a formidable enemy, but now he has provoked the ancient demon clan as well. Sigh. I hope that God will bless him. As high-level experts of the Samsara Temple, Ding Mo and Dreamless Tao Master naturally had gotten the news at once. Dragon Wing Governor, being a man with great connections, also learned of the news as soon as they did. The news traveled to the various influences, clans, and experts in the Samsara continent at the same time. The four great clans of the Samsara continent, the Blood Azura clan. The Blood Azura clan was the only one out of the numerous clans in the Samsara continent that could rival the ancient demon clan. These two clans were much stronger than the other two top clans. The ancient demon clan had yet to receive public recognition despite being, barely, considered the best population of the Samsara continent. That was due to the existence of the Blood Azura clan. Just then, inside the grounds of the Blood Azura clan, countless pavilions covered every nook of a mountain that stood tall within an ancient forest that appeared endless at a glance. There was a beautiful girl dressed in black standing on the top floor of a pavilion that was so tall that it pierced the clouds. Though the girl appeared delicate, her aura was strong enough to make ordinary Tao masters to quake in fear. The pavilion, located on the peak of the mountain, was most certainly the most important building of the clan. Most of the internal information that the clan gathered over its long lifespan was kept here. Naturally, this building was heavily guarded. Even among the whole Blood Azura clan, no more than 10 clan members were qualified to enter this building. Only 3 had access to the top floor, and the black-robed girl was one of them. The girl stood impassively on the top floor of the pavilion, overlooking everything below. She was deep in thought, with a hint of melancholy in her gaze. 2 figures flitted across the void next to the pavilion. They chatted as they traveled through the void. The girl had intended to ignore them. But when she heard their conversation, her face changed. You've heard the news, I suppose? That infamous patriarch of Empyrean Glory is now hunting down Jian Wushuang. The other chuckled. How could I not know this big news? I even heard that Jian Wushuang suppressed Tao Master Jiu Jian of the ancient demon clan, angering the clan so much that they're also going after him. Jian Wushuang sure is audacious. Humph. Audacious? I think he's digging his own grave. With Patriarch of Empyrean Glory and the ancient demon clan teaming up, I don't believe he'll be able to escape. The ones talking were Tao Masters of the Blood Azura clan. They were fairly famous in the Samsara continent and well-connected to boot. The great commotion and frantic pursuit sent such shockwaves through the entire divine demon territory and Samsara continent that they were naturally aware of it. They were happily chatting when they heard a sudden whooshing sound and the girl in black appeared in front of them. They were taken aback at the sight of the girl, and then quickly bowed to her. Paying our respects to you, Celestial Emperor. The Tao Masters looked exceptionally deferential. Which Jian Wushuang are you referring to? The girl asked, sounding a little impatient. Her question caught them by surprise, but one of them, an old man with silver hair, immediately replied, We're not too clear ourselves about Jian Wushuang's background, all we know is that he has terrifying strong battle strength despite being in the Eternal Realm. He's strong enough to kill even Tao Masters in the peak of rank 3. Moreover, it's said that he's from the ancient world and very young to boot. It's only been 2,000 years since his birth. Oh. The girl's eyes gleamed. He's from the ancient world and it's only been 2,000 years since his birth. Yet he's exceptionally strong. Is it him? The girl muttered to herself. Even so, the answer was firm in her heart. The green fire world was so large, after all. The ancient world had gone through countless cycles of maturity and replacement. There would be countless men who were called Jian Wushuang. It wouldn't be surprising to see 2 people with the same name and a similar cultivation age. Uncertain as she was, she still decided to go there and figure it out. Mount Xiong. Let's go. The moment the girl decided to set out on her journey, silhouettes appeared behind her with whooshing sounds one after another. There were no less than 10 shadows, all of them emanating decently strong auras. The one standing closest to the girl was especially powerful. It was an apathetic, bear-like man with an incomparably tall and sturdy stature. His aura evidently put him above the level of Tao masters. He was a genuine celestial master. I hope it's him. The girl clasped her hands tightly, a hint of expectation peeking through her pupils. The apathetic, bear-like man and the group of Tao masters followed after her. They soon made their way out of the Blood Azura clan. Over in the divine demon territory, above the vast void. Swoosh! A blood-like flowing light streaked across the void. Then, a black silhouette followed, flitting across the void just as quickly. Jian Wushuang and Patriarch of Empyrean Glory were still engaged in a frantic pursuit. It had been exactly 4 hours since the pursuit began. That brat! How can it be? Patriarch of Empyrean Glory focused on Jian Wushuang in front of him, looking displeased. He had assumed that the secret skill that gave Jian Wushuang such speed and explosive acceleration would deplete the latter's energy and greatly diminish his endurance. Now, he felt like he had been slapped on the face. Jian Wushuang was still not showing signs of stopping after 4 hours and his aura remained incomparably strong. Chapter 1044, Unleashing Full Speed. Chapter 1044, Unleashing Full Speed. What's wrong, Patriarch of Empyrean Glory? Why haven't you overtaken him yet? Even Celestial Master Dong Ming of the Ancient Demon Clan had to contact him. I underestimated him. I didn't think he'd be this good at running. He's faster than ordinary Celestial Masters, Patriarch of Empyrean Glory replied. I see. No wonder I'm increasingly falling behind Zhou Jian in my perception despite using all my strength. Dong Ming felt relieved. Rest assured. He has some extraordinary tricks up his sleeve but he's dreaming if he thinks he can outrun me. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory snorted. Secret black patterns emerged all over his skin, engulfing him. These patterns soon covered his entire body. With a flick of his sleeve, a pair of immense black wings burst forth from these patterns. Even Patriarch of Empyrean Glory's body began to experience changes and he turned into a large bat in a flash. The real form of both Empyrean Patriarch and Di Yen was Sky-Devouring Bat. Emperor of Flames could return to his original form with a secret skill but Patriarch of Empyrean Glory needed only to trigger his bloodline power to achieve the same. Once he returned to his original self, his speed would increase sharply. Swoosh! An ear-piercing neighing sound resounded in the air. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory's large black wings abruptly clapped and his body turned into a black mirage in a violent manner. He was now several times faster than before. When Jian Wushuang used the first Dragon Blood secret skill, his speed was comparable to Patriarch of Empyrean Glory's. That was why, even after the latter had pursued him for 4 hours, their distance didn't diminish at all. But now, Patriarch of Empyrean Glory was visibly closing in onto Jian Wushuang. Suddenly, Gu Qing's voice resounded. Jian Wushuang. Sky-Devouring Bat. Jian Wushuang's expression abruptly changed after noticing that Patriarch of Empyrean Glory was increasingly close behind. The Sky-Devouring Bat has the advantage in terms of speed. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory is also much stronger than his son. He relies solely on his bloodline power to maintain his true form. If his speed explodes, he'll be so much faster than his son. He'll catch up to you in no time if this continues, Gu Qing said in a gloomy voice. Looks like I have no other choice. Jian Wushuang's eyes gleamed and in the next moment, his already raging spiritual power burned even more intensely. Earlier, the burning rate of his spiritual power was still within acceptable limits. Coupled with Gu Qing's recovering capability and elixirs that heal spiritual powers, he would be able to endure for a very long time. His spiritual power now burned at a frantic speed. This was the second level of his dragon blood secret skill. Both levels required him to pay the price of burning his spiritual power, but the speed that the second level provided was tenfold that of the first level. Whoosh! Jian Wushuang streaked across the void instantly. The naked eye wouldn't be able to capture even his shadow. The killing intent in Patriarch of Empyrean Glory's eyes surged dangerously high. He was so close to catching up to Jian Wushuang, but all of a sudden, Jian Wushuang's speed increased sharply, this time about tenfold. In a second, their distance was widened until they were several thousand miles apart. To make things worse, the distance was still widening at a terrifying speed. In no time at all, Jian Wushuang had completely disappeared from his sight. Impossible. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory was truly startled this time. He had been shocked when Jian Wushuang's speed increased tenfold, but now there was another tenfold increase. What kind of development was this? Hundredfold increase. There was a whooping hundredfold increase in his speed. What a formidable secret skill. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory immediately called for Celestial Master Dongming. Hurry up and tell me the brat's location. Jian Wushuang had disappeared from his sight with such a simple show of tricks. Without Dongming showing him in the right direction, he would have been completely lost. What happened? Don't tell me that Jian Wushuang shook you off. Dongming asked doubtfully. Stop with the questions. Just tell me his location. The eyes of Patriarch of Empyrean Glory were alarmingly red. He was unwilling to admit the truth. I am a sky-devouring bat at the Holy Master level. Although I exerted myself in the state of my original form, I still lost track of an eternal realm brat. Everyone in the Samsara continent would be laughing their heads off if they found it out. Dongming asked no further and faithfully relayed Jian Wushuang's location. I refuse to believe he can use his incredible secret skill which boosts up his speed greatly without paying a steep price. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory's killing intent was so strong that it was overflowing. Under Dongming's guidance, he continued to chase after Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang successfully threw Patriarch of Empyrean Glory off his trail, but he knew this situation wouldn't last for long. The price for invoking the second level of Dragon Blood's secret skill was much steeper than the price for the first. He wouldn't be able to soldier on for much longer. Jian Wushuang, your spiritual power is burning too quickly for my recovering capability to catch up, Gu Qing said in a low voice. I know. Jian Wushuang nodded with a grim expression. Even with Gu Qing's help, I could at most exert the second level of Dragon Blood's secret skill for an hour. 1 hour was sufficient in a close quarters combat. Yet it was pathetically short for when he needed to run. His spiritual power would be thoroughly exhausted in an hour and he would then lose all ability to fight back. So much time has passed but Jiu Xiu is still hanging on. Jian Wushuang lamented. His initial plan was to buy himself time to use the restriction methods of the Sword Mountain to torment Jiu Xiu and get the latter to reveal his mother's whereabouts. Once he got the outcome he wanted, he would behead Jiu Xiu and escape using the Dragon Blood secret skill. Once Jiu Xiu lost the mysterious crack for guidance, he could stand a good chance to escape successfully. Who would have thought Jiu Xiu would have such exceptional endurance? Jiu Xiu has a strong consciousness, perhaps due to his reincarnation, Gu Qing said solemnly. Jian Wushuang's expression shifted. Strong consciousness. He had fully unleashed the might of his sheer shadow sword, which contained a strong consciousness attack, on Jiu Xiu earlier. However, Jiu Xiu remained unaffected, clearly showed that he had exceptional consciousness. The restriction methods of the Sword Mountain were terrifying but most were targeted at the consciousness, where they would cause a violent pain in the target's mind. Ordinary Dao masters would have collapsed under such torment but Jiu Xiu had continued to soldier on. Chapter 1045, Black-Robed Girl. Chapter 1045, Black-Robed Girl. Since Xiujiu has been enduring for such a long time, there's no way he'd tell me in just an hour. Jian Wushuang's eyes turned cold as his resolution grew firmer. Looks like I have no choice but to kill him. Kill him? Don't you want to know where your mother is? Gu King asked. I'd put up a fight if I know I stand even the slightest chance, but it's hopeless now, Jian Wushuang replied solemnly. I'm not a hotspur. I won't blindly pursue a goal even knowing it's hopeless. The mysterious pattern on Jiu Xiu's skin would be gone after his death. I'm confident I can manage to escape within this hour. Once he made up his mind, he immediately set out to kill Jiu Xiu. Just then. Jian Wushuang, hurry up and look what's in front of you, Gu King cried. Jian Wushuang looked up and saw a black dot appearing at the end of his line of sight. The black dot magnified rapidly and appeared before him instantly. It was a sturdy, bear-like, and apathetic man. Oh no! Jian Wushuang's pupils shrunk the moment he saw the apathetic man. This aura belongs to a holy master. Is he from the ancient demon clan? His expression was grim. He had been ready to take Jiu Xiu out, but now a celestial master showed up out of nowhere. Moreover, this celestial master was evidently targeting him. He was either from the ancient demon clan or an expert that they invited. This is troublesome. Jian Wushuang's eyes turned cold. The Blood Mountain sword was already in his hand. Yet unexpectedly. Jian Wushuang was stunned. He realized that though the bear-like, apathetic man was eyeing him, there was no killing intent in the latter's eyes. The man was already in front of Jian Wushuang but made no move to attack him. Instead, he bypassed Jian Wushuang and stopped behind him. He then lifted his head and targeted his sharp gaze at Patriarch of Empyrean Glory, who was taking his sweet time in catching up to Jian Wushuang. Then, the man made his move. Boom! The man had merely thrown a simple punch, but it was enough to set off an explosion that detonated all of the space around them. Soon an immense black hole emerged which covered the range of thousands of miles out of thin air. The spiral-shaped black hole extended outward in a perfectly straight line. In the center of that spatial black hole was a thick, solid arm with its hand tightly clenched. It was an incredibly arrogant and unyielding fist. This. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory's expression changed when he saw the punch flying at him. He responded by clapping his large wings, producing a powerful storm with a concentrated force. The storm effortlessly shattered the fist and spatial black hole. Though he managed to crush the attacks, Patriarch of Empyrean Glory was forced to stop. Who are you? How dare you stop me? He asked, his voice carrying traces of alarm. The apathetic man remained expressionless as he responded emotionlessly, I'm here to stop you on my master's order. Master? Patriarch of Empyrean Glory was stunned. Once the apathetic man made his move, he had shown that he was a genuine celestial master. What kind of a person will be strong enough to have a celestial master call his master, thought Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang had continued to widen his distance from Patriarch of Empyrean Glory after the apathetic man bypassed him. In the end, he stopped running and turned around in time to see the man stopping Patriarch of Empyrean Glory. This man came for me, but he's not here to kill me, but to help me. He was stunned. Reinforcement? Jian Wushuang never dreamed that he would have reinforcements. After all, he hadn't made many friends in the Samsara continent. He only knew Dragon Wing Governor and Dreamless Tao Master, and he was absolutely certain that these two would have no way of getting him reinforcements on the level of a holy master. But the apathetic man's action and words. Master? Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. Who would be the master of this strong and apathetic man? Patriarch of Empyrean Glory was so mad, to boot. I don't care who your master is. This brat killed my son, and for that, I must take his life today. Get out of my way. Otherwise, Patriarch of Empyrean Glory roared. Before he could finish his sentence, a cold voice came drifting from afar reached his ears. Otherwise? Otherwise what? Both Jian Wushuang and Patriarch of Empyrean Glory immediately turned toward the source of the voice. They saw dozens of black dots appearing in their vision. These dots rapidly enlarged, soon turning into figures that stood in the void. The group of people emanated dangerously strong auras that indicated that they were in the peak of rank 3 level. Their leader was unexpectedly a stunning, delicate-looking girl in black. Despite her frail appearance, the group of Tao masters stood deferentially behind her. Even the apathetic man who made the first move bowed respectfully to her and cried, "Master." Patriarch of Empyrean Glory's pupils shrank in shock. On the other hand, Jian Wushuang was dumbfounded. He had never felt this stupefied in his life. He kept his gaze fixed on the black-robed girl. The girl also stared at him, her eyes reflecting the fierce joy. Jian Wushuang couldn't help crying out, "Fourth sister." His emotions began surging wildly. Fourth sister. Few people in this world would merit such an intimate manner of addressing from Jian Wushuang. In fact, there were only 3, the 3 people that he swore to be good siblings with when he was still a weakling in the ancient world. There were 4 of them in total. The oldest was Wang Yuan. The second was Yang Zishuan. The third was Jian Wushuang himself. The fourth, Su Rou. The young and shy girl whose charm drew everyone to dote on her was also the earliest to leave the ancient world. He wasn't there when she left, hearing about her departure from Wang Yuan and Yang Zishuan later. He didn't know where she went, only that she was leaving with a mysterious expert. When he arrived in the Green Fire world, he guessed that she was also here somewhere. But he never once thought that it would be here, in the Samsara continent, that he would meet fourth sister again or that she would now be so different. The young and shy girl back then now possessed a fearsome aura. The dozens of experts that surrounded and protected her also showed her status as an expert. Su Rou was similarly surprised, but she was able to suppress her emotions. Her eyes turned a little colder as she turned to look at Patriarch of Empyrean Glory. She once again spoke in that icy cold voice of hers. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory, if you dare touch even a strand of hair on his head while I'm around, I'll pluck out all the fur on your bat body. Chapter 1046, Azure Lord. Chapter 1046, Azure Lord. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory, if you dare touch even a strand of hair on his head while I'm around, I'll pluck out all the fur on your bat body. Su Rou's every word rang loudly inside Patriarch of Empyrean Glory's ears. His expression immediately darkened. Are you from the Blood Azura clan? He swept his gaze through the experts behind Su Rou before finally settling on her. If I'm not mistaken, you're Azura Lord of the Azuras of the Blood Azura clan, aren't you? Holy Emperor of the Azuras? Jian Wushuang looked at Su Rou in surprise. He had read the information on the 4 great clans and had some knowledge of the Blood Azura clan. He knew Azura Lord held the highest position in the Blood Azura clan. The position typically belonged to the clansman with the densest awakened bloodline. It was a position that was basically equivalent to the emperor of the entire clan. It was similar to the position of imperial god in the ancient god clan. Jian Wushuang was amazed. In just a short 2,000 years, fourth sister has become Azura Lord of the Blood Azura clan. Your clan might be strong, but I'm not an easy opponent either. Azura Lord, have you really resolved to provoke me just for this brat? Patriarch of Empyrean Glory snorted. Considering his disregard for the law and morality, as well as his arrogant character, he would not have bothered talking were it not for his misgivings about his new opponent. Obviously he was apprehensive about Su Rou, or more accurately, her clan. After all, her clan was one of the 4 great clans. He had no choice but to feel reservations about fighting them. I've made myself very clear. I won't allow anyone to touch even a strand of his hair as long as I'm around. Su Rou's voice was as cold as ever. She waved her fair hand as she started speaking, prompting the experts behind her to move forward. In a split second, they gathered around the apathetic man to form a blockade around Patriarch of Empyrean Glory. The dozens of peak of rank 3 experts, coupled with a Celestial Master expert, formed a fearsome battle formation that was strong enough to stop Patriarch of Empyrean Glory. More importantly, Patriarch of Empyrean Glory noticed that all the experts were expressionless, as if they felt no emotion, so much so that they resembled puppet fighters. I heard that as a rising star within the Blood Azura clan, Azura Lord has the densest bloodline in the clan's history. Moreover, she has awakened the Eye of Azura that allows her to control many experts and have them vow their loyalty to her. Even a careless Holy Master expert might find himself under her control. These experts are probably under her control, Patriarch of Empyrean Glory muttered in a gloomy voice. Those under the control of the Eye of Azura would be so obedient and loyal to their master that they would not hesitate if they were ordered to die. Someone like Azura Lord was much more terrifying than the human warriors or puppet fighters. That was why the experts of the Samsara continent would be so afraid of her. It'd be more difficult to kill the brat with Azura Lord around. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory narrowed his eyes and then took out a token. Holy Master Dongming. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory, I sense that Zhou Jian has stopped moving. Have you already killed Jian Wushuang and saved him? Celestial Master Dongming asked. Not yet. I've encountered some trouble. Azura Lord of the Blood Azura clan has personally come to protect Jian Wushuang, Patriarch of Empyrean Glory replied in a gloomy voice. Holy Emperor of the Azuras? Dongming snorted. So the Blood Azura clan has gotten involved as well. Could they be behind this operation that targeted Zhou Jian? Humph. That damned Blood Azura clan. Stay there and stall for time. I'll be there as soon as possible. All right. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory nodded. He once again looked at Su Ro after the brief exchange of message. Looks like your clan is determined to interfere in this, he said coldly. I might not be able to do anything to that brat with you around, but Holy Master Dongming of the Ancient Demon Clan will be here soon. I'd like to see how you and your men take both of us on. Su Ro's expression changed subtly. She was strong enough to fight the entire Ancient Demon Clan or a Patriarch of Empyrean Glory, all while ensuring Jian Wushuang's safety. However, if Patriarch of Empyrean Glory and the Ancient Demon Clan were to team up, not even she would have the absolute confidence to protect Jian Wushuang. In terms of overall strength, the Ancient Demon Clan was not weaker than her clan. In fact, they might even be slightly stronger. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory was famous for his overwhelming battle strength, powerful and ferocious temper. The Blood Azura clan could not underestimate any of them, but if they were to work together, they would certainly be more powerful than the Blood Azura clan. Well, you still have to wait for Celestial Master Dongming to arrive before you can see that scene, don't you? Su Ro snorted. Her figure abruptly turned illusory, and in the next second, she was already standing next to Jian Wushuang. Third brother, Su Ro greeted, joy evident in her voice. You're really amazing, fourth sister. It's only been 2,000 years since we last met, but you've become Azura Lord of the Blood Azura clan. Jian Wushuang was also wearing an expression of surprise and delight. He had already met his two other brothers, Wang Yuan and Yang Zishuan, in the Void Continent. Su Ro spent the longest time apart from them, which was why she was also the one whom he missed and worried about the most. Naturally, he was pleasantly surprised to finally see her again. It's because of my bloodline, Su Ro said with a laugh. Her expression soon turned somber as she continued, let's put that aside for now. The experts of the Ancient Demon Clan will be here soon. With my ability, there's no way I can handle them and Patriarch of Empyrean Glory at the same time. You should run before the experts arrive. I'll help you hold Patriarch of Empyrean Glory up. Run? There is no need. Jian Wushuang shook his head. Why? Su Ro was confused. There's a secret pattern on my hostage, Dao Master Zhou Jian, that allows the ancient demon clan to trace my whereabouts. There's nowhere I can flee as long as that secret pattern exists. It's better if I stay here and negotiate with them, Jian Wushuang replied helplessly. But what if? Su Rou frowned. Don't worry. Since I dare to capture Zhou Jian, I naturally have prepared for all possible scenarios. Whatever the outcome is, it won't threaten my life. Furthermore, I have your assistance. How can mere patriarch of Empyrean glory and the ancient demon clan hurt me? Jian Wushuang grinned, looking confident in himself. In fact, he did have a lot of confidence in himself. I have stopped using the dragon blood secret skill, and meanwhile, Gu King is also trying his best to heal his spiritual power. I am supposed to make a full recovery by the time the experts from the ancient demon clan arrive. Should anything bad happen, I would immediately kill Jiu Xiu and use his dragon blood secret skill to escape. I am certain that I have a good chance of making my escape. Moreover, he was also mulling over a certain thought. If I can't get my mother's whereabouts from Jiu Xiu, maybe I can get an answer from Holy Master Dongming. Chapter 1047, Bet. Chapter 1047, Bet. Celestial Master Dongming of the ancient demon clan arrived soon. Apart from him, the 10 great protectors serving Patriarch of Empyrean glory and a large crowd of experts curious about the pursuit earlier had shown up as well. The tightly packed crowd that had appeared in the void was mostly made out of Dao Masters. All of their attention was placed on Jian Wushuang. Is he Jian Wushuang? He doesn't look that formidable. Jian Wushuang sure is capable to make Patriarch of Empyrean glory and the ancient demon clan chase after him like this, but his glory ends here. Ends here? I don't think so. Azura, Lord of the Blood Azura clan, is going to try her best to shield him. One party is Jian Wushuang and Jian Wushuang. The other is Patriarch of Empyrean glory and the ancient demon clan. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. The whispers began resounding. In their sight, Patriarch of Empyrean glory and Dongming were glaring at Azura Lord. Azura Lord, this has nothing to do with your clan. Are you sure you want to get yourselves involved? Dongming asked in a cold voice. Yes, I am. What can you do about it? Su Rou refused to concede in the slightest. Very well. I've long heard that you have the purest bloodline in the history of Blood Azura clan, and I'm sure you're also the strongest of them all. I'd like to learn from you today. Dongming's gaze was cold and clouded. The moment he stopped speaking, a terrifying killing intent was already bursting forth from him. Simultaneously, Patriarch of Empyrean glory beside him was also emanating his powerful aura. Evidently, both of them were prepared to fight. Su Rou's expression turned grave. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. Your experts make a decent battle formation, fourth sister, but it'll only be able to hold Patriarch of Empyrean glory back. It's not realistic to use it to suppress them both. While he shook his head, an idea was already forming in his mind. Patriarch of Empyrean glory. Jian Wushuang opened his mouth to produce a bellowing sound. He took a step forward at the same time. What more do you have to say, brat? Patriarch of Empyrean glory asked coolly. It's said that you're so arrogant that you'd never team up with any of the 4 great clans. Yet you decided to work with the ancient demon clan just to kill me. This doesn't seem like your way of doing things. Jian Wushuang chuckled, appearing rather at ease with the current situation. Patriarch of Empyrean glory's expression shifted ever so lightly. It was true that he typically had little to do with the ancient demon clan. Neither did he want to have anything to do with these great clans. But like what Jian Wushuang said, he was teaming up with the ancient demon clan today. Patriarch of Empyrean glory, Jian Wushuang called, glancing at him. How about we make a bet? Make a bet? Patriarch of Empyrean glory's expression changed. Since you're so desperate to kill me, I'll give you a chance to do so. I'll take 3 strikes from you face on. If I die, you would have avenged your son. But if you fail to kill me after 3 strikes, you'll have to write off whatever grudge there is between us two. What do you think? Jian Wushuang asked, smiling. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory narrowed his eyes. You'll take 3 strikes from me head-on. He was exceptionally powerful even among the Celestial Masters. Perhaps even an ordinary Celestial Master wouldn't be able to survive after taking 3 strikes from him. Yet Jian Wushuang dared to suggest 3 head-on strikes. Is this brat really that confident in himself? Patriarch of Empyrean Glory muttered to himself. He then sneered and said, "Humph. I'm not a fool. You're already a dead man in this current situation. I only need to put in a little effort to kill you, so why should I bother making a bet with you? I'm already a dead man. I don't think that's necessarily true." Jian Wushuang chuckled. Don't assume that I'm unaware that the secret pattern on Dao Master Zhou Jian is the only reason you and Celestial Master Dongming know my whereabouts. If you happen to corner me, I'll just kill Dao Master Zhou Jian and make my escape. Without that secret pattern, how would you and Celestial Master Dongming track me down? Jian Wushuang appeared utterly confident. The faces of Patriarch of Empyrean Glory and Dongming fell. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory had witnessed just how fast Jian Wushuang could run after using his secret skill. He could not catch up even after exerting all of his strength, unleashing his main body, and using his secret skill. Without the secret pattern pointing the way, he would have long lost track of Jian Wushuang. They too would truly be helpless if Jian Wushuang killed Dao Master Zhou Jian and played that secret skill of his. Jian Wushuang, if you dare kill Dao Master Zhou Jian, I can guarantee that you will find nowhere to stay in the entire Samsara continent. Dongming said coolly. Oh, excuse me, I'm not a native of Samsara continent in the first place. I'm from the Void continent. If I can't stay here anymore, no big deal. I'll just return to my home. If you're that good, feel free to hunt me down in the Void continent. But I'd like to see just who is it that would be killed then. Jian Wushuang replied with a sneer. Dongming's expression considerably darkened. The Void continent? So you're indeed that top genius who caused all that commotion in the Void continent, he said in a cold voice. Both the Samsara and Void continents were located in the Green Fire world. Being a top expert of the 4 great clans in the Samsara continent, he would naturally have learnt about current events happening in the other continents. Not long ago, he was told a notable battle that took place in the Tang of the East in the Void continent as well as a stunningly brilliant genius. That great genius was in the Eternal Realm. Even though the 2 continents are in the Green Fire world, it's been long agreed that both should mind their own business. If this brat really returns to the Void continent, there's no way for our clan to send too many of our people to hunt him. Moreover, based on the news that I obtained, this brat has exceptional origins in the Void continent. Tang of the East, the #1 nation on the continent, is his supporter. Never mind the fact that we can't send too many of our people, even if our entire clan goes there, we won't be able to do anything to him. I mustn't let him run off to the Void continent. Dongming muttered in a gloomy voice. But this brat sure has some good escaping tricks up his sleeve. If he kills Dao Master Zhou Jian and we lose that secret pattern, no one would be able to catch up to him. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory's voice turned even colder. We have no choice but to agree to his request. His eyes glinted before he finally stepped forward. Jian Wushuang, I accept your bet. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory's booming voice reverberated in the air. He understood very well that the bet was his only chance of avenging his son. He had essentially no other way of killing Jian Wushuang. Since this was his last chance, of course he would hold firmly onto it. Chapter 1048, 3 Moves. Chapter 1048, 3 Moves. Oh, you agreed to it? The corner of Jian Wushuang's mouth lifted to form a smile. He felt no surprise whatsoever. He knew Patriarch of Empyrean Glory would agree because that was the only way the latter would be able to kill him. Jian Wushuang didn't wish for fourth sister to risk her life for him. Neither did he want to kill off Jiu Xiu, he still wanted to get secrets out of the latter. Thus, he gave Patriarch of Empyrean Glory such a chance. Third brother. Su Ro glanced at him. Don't worry. I know what I'm doing. Jian Wushuang smiled. He was no fool. Since he dared to demand 3 head-on moves from Patriarch of Empyrean Glory, he would naturally have the means to take it. I've learned 3 sword principles in the heaven and earth rank. I'm not weaker than ordinary celestial master experts. Moreover, I have the blood-killing plate armor for self-protection. Though it's not enough to beat Patriarch of Empyrean Glory, it wouldn't be easy for him to kill me with just 3 moves, Jian Wushuang muttered. Up above the void, Su Ro, Celestial Master Dong Ming, and the other spectators were already standing on the fringe of the battleground, leaving plenty of space for Jian Wushuang and Patriarch of Empyrean Glory. There was a distance of 1,000 miles between them as they confronted each other. I don't know where you found the confidence to take 3 of my moves head-on. But since you want to dig your own grave, I'll naturally help you. Dim light glinted in Patriarch of Empyrean Glory's pupils. The ruthless aura that he was emanating turned even more ferocious. Show me your best moves. Jian Wushuang gripped his blood mountain sword, his sword essence bursting forth and surging toward the sky. The crowd of spectators couldn't help holding their breath at the sight of the rise of their 2 auras. Suddenly, Patriarch of Empyrean Glory made his move. Brat, this is my first move. His voice shook the sky, the sound echoing through the void. Simultaneously, an explosion of light burst forth from within him. His right palm was immediately scorched black, and a terrifying power that seemed capable of destroying heaven and earth rapidly concentrated on the palm. In the blink of an eye, the condensation of power reached its pinnacle. Concealed bat palm. With a wave of his hand, Patriarch of Empyrean Glory immediately grabbed at Jian Wushuang at a lightning speed. The pitch-black palm continuously enlarged in the void until it was large enough to cover the sky. In a flash, it emerged in front of Jian Wushuang. The boundless pressure crushed the space easily, causing the pupils of the spectators to rapidly shrink. Such incredible might! Is this the strength of a celestial master expert? No. Ordinary holy master experts wouldn't possess such powerful strength. After all, the one who's making a move is Patriarch of Empyrean Glory. Exclamations resounded one after another. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory was indeed an infamous character. It was precisely his powerful and unyielding might that earned him such fame. Jian Wushuang's expression was exceptionally solemn when he saw the large, pitch-black palm that had crushed the void around it flying toward him. He immediately swung his sword in response. His action carried the power of his 3 sword principles. An incredibly violent sword light descended. This sword light was strong and imbued with yang energy. It carried an aura that seemed capable of wiping out everything before it. It was as if it could rip apart and destroy every scenery. The attack that Jian Wushuang produced was the strongest one in his repertoire, earth-shattering style. Bang! The terrifying sword light and the lightning-fast, pitch-black palm collided. All of a sudden, the world crashed. Sword shadows burst forth inside the void that experienced a frantic collision, easily carving massive space rifts in the void. Crash! It felt as if the entire world was being mercilessly torn apart. Humph! Jian Wushuang's muffled snort rang as he was flung away by the force of the collision. He was forced backwards several tens of thousands of miles. Once he regained firm footing, he felt a metallic taste in his mouth and promptly coughed up blood. The gap between of us sure is big. He stared fixedly at Patriarch of Empyrean Glory, secretly shaking his head. He had improved his strength significantly ever since the 3 sword principles that he created reached the heaven and earth rank. It was already very close to the strength of an ordinary Holy Master expert. Even so, Patriarch of Empyrean Glory immediately crushed him. Evidently, his opponent was far stronger than ordinary Holy Master experts. On the other side, Patriarch of Empyrean Glory was frowning. Looks like I've really underestimated you, brat. I didn't expect your strength to be so close to that of a Holy Master, he said loudly. His words immediately prompted cries of surprise among the spectators. To think that an Eternal Realm expert would possess battle strength close to that of an ordinary Celestial Master. This fact was inconceivable to them. Humph. Don't feel so proud of yourself. That move isn't my strongest unique kill and I've merely used 70% of my strength. I'll be using my full strength in my second move, Patriarch of Empyrean Glory said with a sneer. Jian Wushuang's pupils shrunk against his will. He was on his guard. When he was done speaking, Patriarch of Empyrean Glory slowly lifted his hand. This time, his palm harbored a power that was formed out of two mingling forces. The two mingling forces which were evidently different yet were perfectly melded by Patriarch of Empyrean Glory. The airflow that revolved around the periphery of his palm took on two colors, one black, and the other a flame-like red. With the combination of the two strengths, his might suddenly increased sharply. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory once again made his move. This time, he threw a punch. The punch caused explosions that detonated the void. The fist that was wrapped in two mingling forces of black and red harbored enormous strength. It directly streaked across several tens of thousands of miles to arrive in front of Jian Wushuang. It was frighteningly fast. It was so fast that Jian Wushuang couldn't react in time to withstand it. He could only watch as the clenched fist crossed the layers of bombardment to hit his body. Jian Wushuang felt as if a meteorite had struck him. Even with his blood-killing plate armor diluting nearly 90% of that frightening power, the remaining power still wreaked havoc in his body and caused him to tremble violently. Pfft! Blood spouted from Jian Wushuang's mouth. Mixed in the blood was traces of his flesh. He was fiercely thrown backward tens of thousands of miles, knocking into countless mountains. In the end, he was embedded inside a large mountain wall. Boom! The mountain immediately fell apart, causing an explosion of crushed rocks. Jian Wushuang once again appeared in the world. Only now, he was battered and bloodied all over. His face was so pale that it was nearly colorless. He was an incredibly sad sight. What a formidable move. Jian Wushuang was still experiencing lingering fears at the thought of the punch that he just took on. Not only was the previous punch exceptionally powerful, but it also harbored a secret strength. That secret strength was like ripples of vibration that pierced Jian Wushuang's defense and directly set off within him. That attack was so strange and mysterious that he didn't immediately notice it. His blood-killing plate armor had no way of warding off or weakening its might as well. Thus, it resulted in his current pathetic state. Chapter 1049, Writing Off at One Stroke. Chapter 1049, Writing Off at One Stroke. If the power in that punch is 20 or 30% stronger, perhaps I'd collapse entirely, Jian Wushuang muttered to himself. It's only the second move and he's already this strong. I wonder what his third move is. While he was watching attentively for the next attack, Patriarch of Empyrean Glory once again made his move. With a burst of dim light with him, he turned into his true body, the sky-devouring bat. With his now red eyes, he gazed at Jian Wushuang as he streaked across the void with his enormous body. Eep! Suddenly, a high-pitched hiss reverberated in the air. The sound caused a series of strange ripples that caused black airflow to surge forth. In a split second, the black airflow filled the entire sky and enveloped Jian Wushuang. What is this? Jian Wushuang's expression was grave as he grappled with feelings of doubt. Engulfing darkness. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory cried in a cold voice. The black airflow rapidly turned into shock waves that charged at Jian Wushuang from all directions. The shock waves came one after another, so many that it was countless. Oh no! Jian Wushuang's expression drastically changed. These shock waves traveled swiftly toward Jian Wushuang, who stood amid the black airflow. He was alarmed that he had no way of dodging the shock waves and that he could only depend on the surface of his body alone for defense. The only option left was to stubbornly resist these shock waves. Boom! 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 The shock waves were extremely powerful and unyielding, the force in each wave equivalent to a celestial master making a strike with his full strength. Yet Patriarch of Empyrean Glory was able to unleash more than 100 shock waves in such a short time to bombard Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang was frantically trembling all over. Moments later, the shock waves finally subsided, and the boundless black airflow also thoroughly dissipated among the void. The entire world came to a standstill. Is he dead? Patriarch of Empyrean Glory's eyes were steely as he fixed his gaze on the fully exposed space in the void. Huh? His expression abruptly changed. The crowd of spectators also noticed the figure amid the chaotic airflow at the same time. How is this possible? Patriarch of Empyrean Glory's face was full of shock. That was his strongest move. It was strong enough to thoroughly crush a celestial master with ease. Jian Wushuang might have decent defense measures, but he ought to be reduced into dust after taking that strike. Yet, Jian Wushuang remained standing in the void. Though he was soaked in blood and a thoroughly sad sight, his body was perfectly intact. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory noticed Jian Wushuang's bright, fervent gaze. Apparently the brat was still alive. I win the bet, Patriarch of Empyrean Glory. Jian Wushuang shouted. But the moment he finished speaking, blood began gushing out of his mouth. Everyone could tell that he was severely injured. But no matter how bad his condition was, he was still alive. He survived Patriarch of Empyrean Glory's 3 very strong and unyielding attacks. I don't think even a celestial master expert could survive such fearsome attacks. But he managed to do it. Just how exactly did he survive the attacks? Voices of disbelief began resounding among the crowd. These numerous gazes that landed on Jian Wushuang were filled with shock and horror. What these people didn't know was that Jian Wushuang was full of mirth inside. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory's final move was terrifying indeed, and much stronger than the first 2 moves. Yet it caused less damage to me than the second strike did, Jian Wushuang muttered. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory's second move was a terribly strong punch that concentrated all of his power into a single point before allowing it to explode upon contact. Moreover, the punch contained ripples of vibrations that directly reached the inside of his body. That was why it was so terrifying and brought him such grave injuries. However, there was no concentration of power in the third move. Though its destructive power was higher, Patriarch of Empyrean Glory's power was scattered. The force contained in each of the shock waves was equivalent to a mere single strike from a celestial master. Though there were more than 100 of them, Jian Wushuang was able to use his blood-killing plate armor to eliminate 99% of their force. The remaining force left barely hurt him. Even though there were hundreds of such injuries, they could only severely injure Jian Wushuang at most. Surprisingly, the third move was a lot less effective than the second move. I suppose Patriarch of Empyrean Glory didn't know just how amazing your blood-killing plate armor is. If he repeats his second move, I don't think you'll be able to survive it. Gu Qing's voice reverberated in Jian Wushuang's mind. You're right. Jian Wushuang grinned. In the end, he owed it all to the armor with exceptional defense capabilities. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory had guessed that Jian Wushuang was wearing some sort of self-protection robe, but he never once thought that the robe would have such incredible defense capabilities. I've given you your chance to kill me, Patriarch of Empyrean Glory, but you aren't strong enough to kill me with 3 moves. Then, according to our bet, you must write off all the grudge between us. With so many people around, I assume you won't go back on your word? Jian Wushuang turned to look at Patriarch of Empyrean Glory. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory's expression immediately darkened with displeasure. When he agreed to Jian Wushuang's bet, he never once thought that a celestial master expert that was close to the peak level would be unable to kill the latter even after unleashing his full strength. To make things worse, how could he break his promise and attack Jian Wushuang again with so many people watching? More importantly, even if he paid no mind to his reputation and attacked Jian Wushuang, he might still fail to kill the latter. It might just turn out to be a life and death struggle instead. Jian Wushuang. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory's gloomy voice rang out. I admit that you're strong and I respect that. For as long as I've lived, I've never once respected someone from the bottom of my heart. You're the first. I won't begrudge you for killing my son. From today onward, there's no more grudge between us. If nothing else happens, I won't chase after you anymore. You should behave accordingly from here on. With a flick of his sleeves, Patriarch of Empyrean Glory turned around and immediately made his exit. His subordinates, the 10 Great Protectors, also followed suit. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory. Celestial Master Dongming was alarmed to see this turn of events. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory ignored him and traveled forward along with his 10 Great Protectors under the watchful eye of the spectators. The determination was reflected in his eyes, but even more so was helplessness. Little Yen, I'm sorry for being useless. Your enemy is simply too strong. I've already tried my best but I still failed to avenge you. Please forgive me. With a heart filled with helplessness and sorrow, Patriarch of Empyrean Glory swiftly disappeared from everyone's vision alongside his subordinates. Chapter 1050, The Dust Has Settled. Chapter 1050, The Dust Has Settled. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory had finally left. He had left so firmly and decisively. With him gone, the only one remaining was Celestial Master Dong Ming of the ancient demon clan. Naturally, Dong Ming alone posed much less of a threat to Jian Wushuang. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory has left, aren't you joining him, Celestial Master Dong Ming? Do you want me to chase you away? Jian Wushuang asked, chuckling. Dong Ming's face darkened before he replied, the ancient demon clan is willing to forget what you've done as long as you're willing to let Zhou Jian go. Moreover, we're willing to be on good terms with you. We'll even treat you like our esteemed guest if you visit us. What say you? Oh. Jian Wushuang raised an eyebrow. The crowd of spectating experts began sighing one after another upon hearing Dong Ming's words. They could hear the defeat in those words. The fact was that he had no choice but to admit defeat. Jian Wushuang's self-protection methods were too strong. Were it not because he was unwilling to kill Jiu Xiu, he would have vanished completely and there would be nothing that the ancient demon clan could do about it. Do you know how much effort I spent to capture him? But you think you can just say a few sentences and convince me to let him off? You sure know how to daydream, Jian Wushuang said with a sneer. Jian Wushuang, are you really bent on making the ancient demon clan your enemy? Dong Ming asked angrily. I'm aware of your origin. Our clan ought to have nothing to do with you and neither have we ever offended you. Just why exactly are you refusing to let Zhou Jian go? Why? Jian Wushuang laughed out loud. His eyes turned exceptionally sharp and cold. Did you think I'm so idle as to provoke your clan for no reason? Humph. Let me tell you just how immense the grudge between your clan and me is. Dao Master Zhou Jian, no, Zhou Xiu. 2,000 years ago in the ancient world, he kidnapped my mother and exterminated her clan. He even stole the soul of my father's sword and forced him to a corner. I was so weak back then, I wasn't even in the skyscraping realm. I had no way of preventing this from happening. Now, 2,000 years have passed and I still have no idea where my mother is. Meanwhile 2,000 years ago, my father chose a near-certain path of becoming a reincarnator just so he could see my mother again. He caused all of this. Celestial Master Dongming, what say you? Do you still think there's no grudge between Dao Master Jiu Jian and me? Jian Wushuang chuckled. Such an immense grudge, yet you dare say there's no grudge. It's a pity that I'm currently not strong enough. Otherwise, I would have razed your entire clan to the ground. Jian Wushuang's icy-cold voice full of endless fury reverberated in the air, shocking all the spectating experts around him. Dongming appeared deeply stunned. Zhou Xiu kidnapped your mother 2,000 years ago in the ancient world? Isn't that? He stared at Jian Wushuang in shock. Jian Wushuang is the son that she left behind in the ancient world? It's him. Dongming was completely stupefied. 2,000 years ago, Jian Wushuang was just a kid. Yet in that short span of time, the child that his clan had ignored and even despised for having inferior bloodline, had unexpectedly grown up to be this strong. How was this possible? After a brief shock, Dongming sank into silence. He finally spoke after a long silence. Jian Wushuang. Even his tone became strange. Your mother is one of our clansmen, and that essentially makes you one of us, he said. The ancient demon clan? Jian Wushuang sneered. How could I be good enough to be a part of one of the 4 great clans with such incredible information bank and great strength? Whether or not you're willing to admit it, you share part of our clan's blood flowing through you. I finally found my answer as to why you were able to use the ancient god power. It seems that you've coincidentally awakened your ancient god bloodline, Dongming replied. Our clan possesses both the ancient god and divine demon bloodlines, though the latter was our main bloodline. The bloodline awakened in most of our clansmen was the divine demon bloodline as well, but every now and then, there would be certain clansmen who would awaken the ancient god bloodline. You're one of those clansmen. Clamor began rising in the crowd after they heard Dongming's words. They never once expected that there would be such a sharp turn of events. To think this man who suppressed Dao Master Jiu Jian and caused himself to be so frantically hunted would have such a wondrous relationship with the ancient demon clan. Jian Wushuang, it's true that our ancient demon clan has owed you and your father. I can understand why you take such a drastic action against us. But I hope you can guarantee Jiu Jian's safety because it'll do your mother good if he's still alive. That's all I have to say. Dongming promptly turned around and took leave after leaving behind these words. Despite his earlier rage and desire to put Jian Wushuang to death, he could no longer find it himself to be angry after learning that the latter was the son left behind in the ancient world back then. Neither he cared for Dongming any longer. With that, even Dongming was gone. But the words he left behind made Jian Wushuang frown. It'll do mother good if Zhou Xiu is still alive? He narrowed his eyes as many thoughts surfaced on his mind. But he swiftly shook his head and stopped mulling over it. Whatever it is, the crisis this time is now over and Zhou Xiu is in my hands. I can slowly come up with a way to make him talk. Third brother. Su Rou walked over to Jian Wushuang. Staring at his bloodied body and pale face, she said in a worried voice, "How are you?" "I'm fine," Jian Wushuang said, smiling. Despite sustaining injuries after forcefully receiving 3 of Patriarch of Empyrean Glory's attacks, Gu Qing didn't stop healing him from within. Right now, he was basically in a steady condition and he would recover completely before long. Patriarch of Empyrean Glory and Celestial Master Dongming might be gone now, but it's hard to say if they won't continue making trouble for you. How about you return to the Blood Azura clan with me, just in case? Su Rou suggested. The Blood Azura clan? Jian Wushuang's heart jumped. He muttered to himself for a moment before giving a small nod. He then promptly followed after Su Rou and left for the Blood Azura clan. Chapter 1051, Blood Azura Clan. Chapter 1051, Blood Azura Clan. The Blood Azura clan was located on towering mountains dotted with numerous palace lofts. It was a pleasing sight that displayed just how majestic the clan was. Is this the home to one of 4 great clans? Blood Azura clan? Jian Wushuang followed Su Rou into the clan, his gaze darting around to take in his surroundings. This clan, along with the ancient demon clan, was the strongest out of the 4 great clans. Azura Lord. Greetings, Azura Lord. They stumbled across numerous clansmen along the way, all of whom possessed great physical strength. But when they saw Su Rou, they would salute her, their absolute deference coming from the bottom of their hearts. Azura Lord was essentially an existence equivalent to an emperor in the Blood Azura clan. When Jian Wushuang arrived in front of a tall mountain, he heard a whooshing sound as multiple silhouettes flitted before him in a straight line. The leader was an elderly woman dressed in a gray robe. The woman had a wizened face and graying hair on the temples, but her eyes were bright and energetic. Celestial Master. Jian Wushuang's heart jolted. He thought to himself that this was indeed one of the great clans. Their strength as a clan was truly commendable. It must be known that Su Rou relied on the Eye of Azura to get a Celestial Master expert under her control. The existence of this elderly woman meant the clan had at least 2 Celestial Master experts and might even have more. Azura Lord. The elderly woman made a subtle salute at Su Rou. Great Elder Linli, did something happen? Su Rou stared at her dully. I heard that you left with a group of experts earlier. I wonder what's so important that you must personally make your move, the elderly woman, Great Elder Linli, inquired. Something happened earlier but it's already resolved. You can rest assured, Great Elder, Su Rou replied emotionlessly. Oh. Linli gave a small nod and refrained from asking any further. She couldn't help glancing at Jian Wushuang behind Su Rou. Azura Lord, who is this person next to you? He's my brother, Jian Wushuang, Su Rou replied. Greetings, Great Elder Jinli, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Jian Wushuang. Lin Li's pupils shrunk. You're Jian Wushuang. You're the one whom Patriarch of Empyrean Glory offered a huge reward for and offended the entire ancient demon clan not long after. That's me. Jian Wushuang gave a helpless smile. Lin Li's face turned grave. Azura Lord, Jian Wushuang's head is wanted by Patriarch of Empyrean Glory and the ancient demon clan. It won't do our clan any favors to bring him here. You worry too much, Great Elder, Su Rou replied. The grudge between Third Brother and Patriarch of Empyrean Glory has already been solved. Third Brother has also confronted the ancient demon clan and the situation isn't as bad as you describe it to be. Is that so? Lin Li frowned. She had only heard about Patriarch of Empyrean Glory hunting Jian Wushuang down, but not what happened afterward. If you don't have anything to add, I'll be leaving. Without bothering to engage in idle chatter with Lin Li, Su Rou continued moving forward with Jian Wushuang behind her. The 2 of them trod upon the void above the Blood Azura clan side by side. The experts under Su Rou's control had been dismissed. Fourth sister, what's up with that woman Lin Li? There's something odd about the way she looked at you earlier, Jian Wushuang asked. Lin Li appeared to be harboring complex emotions while talking to Su Rou earlier. Though she hid it well, Jian Wushuang was still able to notice it. It's normal. Su Rou laughed, looking as if she was used to it. Third Brother, there's something you don't know about our clan. Here, there are 3 people with the top positions and influences. The first is my master, the Supreme Elder as well as the top expert of our clan. His word carries enormous weight here and no one dares go against him. The second is the woman you met earlier, Great Elder Lin Li. Being a Great Elder, she naturally commands significant authority. Moreover, my master typically doesn't show interest in the clan's affairs and she's the one who's responsible for most things. The third and last one is me. Su-ro smiled faintly as she continued, our clan attaches greater importance to bloodline purity than other clans in the Samsara continent. In fact, at our clan's peak many years ago, our influence envelopes the entire Green Fire world and even many parts of the ancient world. This results in the Blood Azura bloodline being found in every corner of the Green Fire world. Our clan typically doesn't concern itself with those who inherited our bloodline, allowing them to live and die as they please. They've even forgotten that there are clansmen as well. But should there someone among them who has awakened an exceptionally pure bloodline, our clan will have a way of detecting it. We will then immediately retrieve this pure-blooded clansman. I'm one of those people who live in the branch families of the clan. Back when I first awakened my bloodline in the ancient world and the Eye of Azura, the clan had also immediately detected my existence. Thus, my master came personally to retrieve me. The purity level of my awakened bloodline is so high that I'm considered the one and only with such bloodline in the clan. Coupled with the Eye of Azura, my master easily made up his mind to make me Azura Lord. Azura Lord is equivalent to the position of the Emperor of the Blood Azura clan. Under ordinary circumstances, even my master has to listen to my orders. Naturally, Lin Li has to follow my command as well. Su-ro hesitated momentarily before continuing. Before this, Lin Li basically commanded an absolute authority over the clan. However, my existence robbed her of all of her power. Of course, she wouldn't feel happy about it and bear grievances against me. I see. Jian Wushuang nodded. He finally understood why Su-ro had left all those years ago and why she had become Azura Lord in just a short span of 2,000 years. Fourth sister, it's been 2,000 years ago since we last met. Now you're doing far better than us three older brothers, he said, sighing with emotion. Did eldest brother and second brother come to the Green Fire world as well? Su-ro asked. Yes, Jian Wushuang said, nodding. He then chuckled. They're now in the Tang of the east of the Void continent. Once I've clarified some of my personal affairs, I'll take you there and we can finally reunite. Great. Su-ro smiled. Oh right. Why did you come to the Samsara continent and even get yourself into trouble with Patriarch of Empyrean Glory and the ancient demon clan? Well. Here is the thing, Jian Wushuang gave her a brief and simple explanation. Chapter 1052, Special Person. Chapter 1052, Special Person. Su-ro couldn't help sighing after hearing Jian Wushuang's story. So that's what happened. Your father became a reincarnator. She knew how cruel the cultivation of a reincarnator was. I've already requested the help of Elder Ding Mo of the Samsara Temple to find my father several days ago. I think I'll get an answer in a few days, Jian Wushuang said. I'm sure an elder of the inner hall of the temple would definitely help you find your father, Su-ro replied. Let's hope so. Inside a large courtyard halfway up the mountain housed the Blood Azura clan. Third brother, please make this your home for the moment and take your time to recuperate. If you need anything, feel free to call for me, Su-ro said. Alright. Jian Wushuang made a small nod. He wouldn't be overly courteous to her. Su-ro soon took leave. Now Jian Wushuang alone sat upright beside a stone table. Jian Wushuang, as for Jiu Xiu. What do you plan to do with him? Gu Qing's voice suddenly resounded. Jiu Xiu. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes, his gaze landing on Jiu Xiu who was being suppressed inside his sword mountain. Jiu Xiu sure is stubborn. I triggered all the restrictions within the sword and tormenting him for so long, but he's still refusing to talk. Jian Wushuang's gaze was steely. That's only natural. The current restrictions are useless and I've no way of triggering anything stronger at the moment. Moreover, Celestial Master Dongming said that it'll do Mother good to keep Jiu Xiu alive. I don't know if he's telling the truth, but then again, I'm not in a hurry to kill him. I'll just keep him suppressed in the Sword Mountain then. Jian Wushuang was feeling helpless as well. He had planned to force Zhou Xiu to reveal his mother's whereabouts. However, the latter refused to speak. There was nothing he could do about it. Now, all I can do is wait for Elder Ding Mo's news. Jian Wushuang immediately started healing his injuries while waiting for news from Elder Ding Mo. Several days later, Ding Mo finally contacted him. Jian Wushuang, I heard you escape unscathed after Patriarch of Empyrean Glory and Celestial Master Dong Ming of the Ancient Demon Clan teamed up to hunt you. How powerful! He had already caused such a great commotion after being pursued in the first place. Later on, he made a bet with Patriarch of Empyrean Glory and survived 3 of his attacks head-on in front of such a large audience. Naturally, the news spread far and wide. Of course Ding Mo, as an elder of the inner hall of the Samsara Temple, would hear about it. Just a stroke of good luck. Moreover, Azura Lord showed up and helped me tide over this crisis. Otherwise, Jian Wushuang said, imagining the possible outcome. Azura Lord of the Blood Azura clan. TSK. I never thought you'd share such a friendship with her, Ding Mo said. Elder Ding Mo, I'm sure you're contacting me because you've made progress in my request. Jian Wushuang went straight to the point, giving Ding Mo no chance to waste time on idle chatter. You're right. Moreover, I'm sure it ought to be good news to you, Ding Mo replied. Good news? Jian Wushuang was initially overjoyed, but a frown colored his expression just as quickly. What do you mean, ought to? I used my authority to begin investigating, starting from your next of kin's origins and the time period in which he became a reincarnator. I did found someone matching the description, Ding Mo began to explain. Did you find him? Jian Wushuang's heart tightened. Calm down, Ding Mo said. I did discover the existence of such a person. But the odd thing is that I only found the information on him before he became the rank 5 reincarnator and below, but not those above. Yet my investigation reveals that he isn't one of the current rank 5 reincarnators of the Samsara Temple. What do you mean? Jian Wushuang frowned. What did it mean that he could only find the information before this man became rank 5 reincarnators and below, but not those above? Did this mean that my father failed in the rank 5 reincarnator test and die? He's not dead. If he hadn't survived the test, his information would have been completely obliterated. He currently has information available to rank 5 reincarnators but not those above, yet he himself isn't among the rank 5 reincarnators of the Samsara Temple. If this happens in the Samsara continent, there's only one explanation for it, Ding Mo said solemnly. What is it? Jian Wushuang immediately asked. He's a special person who means a great deal or poses a great function for the Samsara Temple. Ding Mo said. Special person? Jian Wushuang was stunned. There is a very rare group of people in the Samsara Temple. They're so special that the temple holds them in the highest of regards. So information about them is top secret. Not even an elder of the inner hall like me has the right to read it. As far as I know, there are currently no more than 10 of such special persons in the Samsara Temple. It serves to reason that your family member should be one of them. Ding Mo's voice was rather solemn. Each special person of the Samsara Temple is equivalent to a precious treasure. In terms of status, they were much more important than a mere elder of the inner hall like me. I see, Jian Wushuang said, his expression also becoming strange. So my father is a special person whom the Samsara Temple attaches much importance to? Jian Wushuang, the reason why I say that it's a good news to you is that such special persons would be very well protected. Under ordinary circumstances, they'd never die. Since your family member is a special person, he ought to be living well and even has a higher status than me in the Samsara Temple, Ding Mo continued. I understand. Thank you very much, Elder Ding Mo. Jian Wushuang heaved a sigh, a smile finally emerging on his face. Even though Ding Mo didn't manage to find his father's whereabouts, the former nevertheless still told him one piece of good news. If father truly holds a high status in the Samsara temple, he must be fairly influential. I caused such a great commotion in the divine demon domain, so maybe he has already heard of it. Who knows if he's already making plans to come and find me? Jian Wushuang said with a smile, joy buoying his heart. Once the communication was over, Jian Wushuang went to look for Su Rou. Fourth sister, I need your help, he said. Your business is my business. Don't be so polite. Su Rou smiled at him. She had always considered him as her biological brother. He chuckled and no longer tried to be courteous. I need you to use your influence to keep an eye on the top experts of the Samsara temple and see if any of them resemble my father. Moreover, there's the ancient demon clan as well. Since their clan and yours are the two top clans among the four great clans, I'm sure there are a lot of explicit and covert fights going on each day, so much so that both clans know each other well. I need you to help me investigate my mother's whereabouts in the ancient demon clan. And from the peace and quiet, Jiang Wushuang was able to enjoy himself as he focused all his thoughts on improving his own skills. Time passed swiftly and unnoticed. In a mere blink of an eye, 120 years have fleeted by. In a chamber of the palace of the Blood Azura clan drenched in darkness and held by a restrictive magical barrier, a large, circular table sat in the middle of the hall. The dark silhouettes of figures could be seen sitting at the table. Perched in the main seat, was the great elder Lin Li of the Blood Azura clan. Tomorrow is the Supreme Council of our clan, the council which is held every 1,000 years. The girl would most certainly be present, and she will demand that I relinquish my control of the Azura guards. Lin Li's eyes flashed dangerously with malice in the darkness. The girl's presence has slowly been smothering what is left of our powers all these years. We have almost nothing now. The command of the Azura guards is the strongest card in my hand. To surrender it would only render us weak and helpless before her. The darkened figures of the elders of the clan stirred uneasily at her words, obviously displeased with the envisaged outcome. These were the closest associates of Lin Li, all of whom looked up to him as their chief and captain. Even now, despite his diminishing authority, they have and would remain steadfast by his side. They knew well, with the emergence of Azura Lord, the Lord now has assumed command and control of the affairs of the clan. This had culminated in the unmistakable pruning and trimming which have usurped Lin Li of much of her authority. This was hardly debatable as Azura Lord has been showered with love by the people of the clan. Yet, there remain certain cliques, namely Lin Li's, within Azura Lord's court which have been displeased by this. That is but a mere sapling that has not even reached the age of 2000. I only fear that our clan may one day be hunted and slaughtered by the ancient demon clan or the other two greater clans if this decadence continues. I really have not the foggiest of what the old Su Qian is thinking of. Lin Li said frostily. Su Qian was the teacher of Su Rou, who was also the most powerful upper elder of the Blood Azura, one whose words bore great weight within the clan. But he had left the clan more than 1,000 years ago, embarking on a pilgrimage that has yet to see its end. But if Su Qian has been at the side of Su Rou, Lin Li would never dare to voice her discontent nor would she dare to devise any devious schemes for a coup. But as Su Qian remained elusive, Lin Li's insolence grew, as had her thirst for power. I have been able to ward off the extending tendrils of her ambition when she had demanded for the control of the Azura guards in the Supreme Council 1,000 years ago. I had cited her inexperience in the affairs of the clan and her unfamiliarity with the state of the Samsara continent as reasons for my refusal. I am afraid it may not be easy now to avert her away. Lin Li remarked darkly. I will need a good and solid reason to deny her again. Did we not have a guest amongst us, an outsider who has been invited here by Azura Lord, Great Elder? One of the elder champions of the clan asked. You mean Jian Wushuang? Lin Li's eyes twinkled suddenly. Indeed, I have almost forgotten about him. It is known that Jian Wushuang has a great many enemies, including the Empyrean Patriarch and the ancient demon clan who had once tried to hunt him down. I believe we may use this as a pretense since we of the Blood Azura clan have always been at odds with the ancient demon clan. With pretenses such as this, coupled with a few comments about the failings of the girl, I will refuse her request to surrender the control of the Azura guards. Chapter 1054, The Summons. Chapter 1054, The Summons. The Supreme Council of the Blood Azura clan, the most important council which convened every 1,000 years, began the following day. Sitting the courtyard of the lodging perched at the middle of a hill, Jian Wushuang was alone, enjoying his wine as a smile broke out on his face. Never have I thought that the Chaos Gold Bead would have such powers. It is not even 200 years, and yet, I have already achieved the peak strength of the 3-star ancient god. Jian Wushuang reveled jubilantly. That is a Chaos Gold Bead, an extremely invaluable treasure even in the eternal chaotic world. And even that alone could not fully illustrate its greatness. Then again, I myself did not expect that you could reach the pinnacle of the 3-star in just 2 centuries. It must have something to do with the methods in which you trained. The Gu King muttered. The methods of inverse cultivation is really unique indeed that it is completely of another level. Most other 3-star ancient gods would have needed at least 1 millennium to fully consume a Chaos Gold Bead. To think that you took only 2 centuries and you are almost at the end of your undertaking. Jian Wushuang smiled without saying anything. Out of the few treasures that he had acquired from Dao Yuanzi, the Chaos Gold Bead was the most effective item that has been a great boon to his improvements. In the past century, Jian Wushuang has been absorbing the essence of the Chaos Gold Bead to enhance his ancient god power. Now, Jian Wushuang has absorbed 2/3 Ophal essence of the Chaos Gold Bead. His ancient god power has risen to the pinnacle of 3 stars. The level of the 3-star ancient god ranked atop common man and ancient gods, wielding strength greater than even that of the Dao masters at the peak of rank 3. I have been meticulously studying the sword principle manuscripts of the Blood Azura clan for the past century. There have been breakthroughs in my mastery of swordsmanship. Added with the improvements of my ancient god power, my overall strength is a lot greater now. Despite still being of the level of the Eternal Realm, I believe I might even have the strength to compete with a holy master. Jian Wushuang added with a smile. You jest. Although I can only speak for myself, but you can hardly be viewed as one of the Eternal Realm anymore. Even in the eternal chaotic world, you will also be treated as a Dao master. Then again, there are many more practitioners and warriors whose powers could easily dwarf yours in the wide domain of the eternal chaotic world. The Gu King remarked indignantly. That I know too. Surely there is no need for such harsh words, Jiang Wushuang smiled and replied. Leeching himself into Jian Wushuang's body, the Gu King and Jian Wushuang had become the best of friends. Thus their conversations discussed many things, bringing them closer than ever. Ah, yes. I know that I have to discover a path of my own to reach the level of Dao Master, and I now possess the necessary requirements to achieve the breakthrough whenever I want to. But what are the differences between the levels of Dao Master and Holy Master, Gu King? Jiang Wushuang asked his companion. With only enemies of the Holy Master level wielding enough strength that would pose as threats to him now, Jian Wushuang would definitely want to know as much as he could about the level of the Holy Master. Holy Masters are also Dao Masters in essence. But Holy Masters have to apply their each individual paths of awareness into the shaping of their very own dharmic bodies of true invincibility. To apply one's own singular path unto oneself to shape one's own dharmic body of true invincibility. The revelation had Jian Wushuang taken aback by surprise as he remembered of the 2 Holy Masters he once fought against. The many sword principles which you have devised on your own and the 2 original bodies of yours will all be embodied as one singular existence of you. The Gu King said to him. What? Jian Wushuang uttered in surprise. Even my two original bodies will have to be fused together. His two original bodies have been a great help to him all these while. It was hardly a surprise that Jian Wushuang would feel sorry for not having them both anymore. This is a step both necessary and unavoidable. The Gu King commented dryly. Jian Wushuang gave a bitter laugh, for he himself was also aware of that. There was no other option for him. He would have to embody both of his original bodies as one in order to achieve greater heights. Just then. Whoosh! Whoosh! Two shadowy figures appeared out of nowhere, landing within the courtyard. Jian Wushuang. The strangers were fully cloaked in gray. From their aura, Jian Wushuang could sense that they have reached the level of Dao Master. Clearly, they were amongst the greatest warriors of the Blood Azura clan. How can I help you, masters? Jian Wushuang turned and looked at them. The great elder of our clan, Lin Li, has summoned for your presence at once. A cold, masculine voice came from one of the two disguised strangers. Oh. Jian Wushuang's brows raised quizzically. For 120 years, Jian Wushuang has resided quietly and undisturbed in this abode of peace. No one has ever come to disrupt that peace, save for Su Rou, who has been coming to visit him occasionally. But suddenly today, the great elder Lin Li has sent for him. Despite his suspicions, Jian Wushuang rose to his feet nevertheless. Lead the way, gentlemen. Jian Wushuang assented with a smile. Led by the two cloaked figures, Jian Wushuang began walking towards a hill which sat at the center of the city of the Blood Azura clan. Roosted upon the great mound of the hill was a great hall. At its top alighted a handsome and richly chamber which was black in color and oval in shape. This chamber was the venue where the Supreme Council convened. The two cloaked strangers led Jian Wushuang into the expanse of the black chamber. We have Jian Wushuang, great elder. The male voice came again, and the two strangers retreated out of sight. Jian Wushuang stood alone in the middle of the space, as he took in the sight before him with interest. There was a huge round table before him. About 20 figures, obscured by shadows, seated at the table, each of them wielded strong and powerful auras. Yet, it was evident to him that the figures were separated into 3 different cliques. One of them was led by Su Rou, the Azura lord of the clan. It was a group of 6 to 7 people. There was another faction, led by the great elder Lin Li, with also the same number of supporters. The final clique of people would appear to be a faction not aligned to either side. But they had the most number of members at close to 10. Having extensive experiences himself, Jian Wushuang could immediately see that this was an internal strife between different factions of the Blood Azura clan. Third brother, Su Rou, glanced at Jian Wushuang. He gave her a smile and walked towards her. In a hushed voice, he then asked her, "What is happening?" Su Rou gave him no verbal answer. Instead, she indicated to Lin Li with her head. Lin Li had been observing Jian Wushuang, the ends of her lips curling into a wicked smile. In an icy tone, her voice rumbled, "That is Jian Wushuang beside you, your majesty. I believe you are aware of his identity." "Of course." Su Rou nodded. "Humph. And why have you kept him here in the clan when you have been aware of his identity?" Lin Li growled menacingly. "For all these years, the ancient demon clan have been hostile towards us of the Blood Azura clan. That is all because he is here. Moreover, there is also the Empyrean Patriarch." Chapter 1055, Blinding Speed. Chapter 1055, Blinding Speed. We have never had any animosity with the Empyrean Patriarch, nor have we sought revenge or retribution against each other. Yet not long ago, a Dao master of our clan had inadvertently offended one of his protectors. A most trivial issue. In most cases, the matter would at most be resolved with a minor penalty. But they have immediately executed that Dao master, showing no ounce of leniency nor mercy. It is evident that the Empyrean Patriarch harbors intense hate towards our clan. And all these came because of Jian Wushuang. Lin Li's voice rose like a thunder, her nostrils flaring with fury. Knowing that Jian Wushuang has a great many enemies thirsty for his blood, you have ill-advisedly decided to bring him here and have brought danger to our clan. And to shovel coal into the fire, I have had word that you have almost fought against the Empyrean Patriarch and the ancient demon clan. All for the sake of Jian Wushuang. This is nothing but folly and ignorance to endanger the fate of our clan for an alien. Her rousing words stirred even many elders of the clan, many of them who had been neutral. They frowned with dismay. I believe you have no authority towards me, Lin Li. Su Ro snarled ominously. My respects, your majesty. You are the holy emperor of the Azuras, the sacred imperator of our clan whom we all revere and obey. I, of course, have no authority over your conduct. But with respects, I am afraid that your methods are still boorish, your majesty. You still have much to learn. Lin Li sneered. Much you have blathered, only to conceal the fact that you refuse to relinquish control of the Azura guards. Su Ro taunted. Lin Li only snorted indignantly and said no more. Standing beside Su Ro, the exchange between her and Lin Li had not escaped Jian Wushuang's ears as he scoffed to himself with disgust. The ancient demon clan's animosity towards the Blood Azura clan stemmed from their rivalry as the two greatest tribes in the land. There has always been conspiracies and deceits between the two clans. Thus, it was of no surprise to him that the ancient demon clan had been preying on the Blood Azura clan. The Empyrean Patriarch and his men have always been known to be cruel and sadistic. It was also hardly surprising that anyone of the Blood Azura clan would have been slain by them, more so for one who had incurred their wrath. These were incidents as common as the melting of snow. But the cunning Lin Li was trying to hang the blame of both misfortunes over his head. It would be apparent that she was trying to use this as a pretense to aggravate and inconvenience Su Ro. Understanding the true intentions of Lin Li, Jian Wushuang rose to his feet at once. Great Elder Lin Li, I confess that I have greatly inconvenienced the Blood Azura clan in the duration of my stay here. Hence, I am willing to repay the kindness shown to me and consider it as a recompensation for the pains that you have endured. Jian Wushuang declared as he produced an interspatial ring with a flick of his wrist. There are 30 chaos gems in this ring. I believe this should be adequate remuneration. 30 chaos gems? Jian Wushuang could feel himself transfixed by dozens of stares upon him. An examination into the contents of the ring was done and immediately the chilly stares and glances he felt turned softened. 30 chaos gems. I must say I am impressed with your generosity, Master Jian. One of the elders muttered. Even the unfriendly eyes of Lin Li could not help but flash with a gleam of astonishment. But the great elder tried her best to maintain her composure and her frosty tone, 30 chaos gems. This, indeed, is a most valuable gift. But do you honestly believe that this compensation is fitting for the hardships you have caused to our clan, more notably the hatred of the Empyrean Patriarch and his minions? Oh. The twinkle in Jian Wushuang's eyes swiftly faded, only to be replaced by a cold fury suppressed within himself. I see. If the 30 gems are hardly enough, you say. What about this? And what may that be? The words escaped the lips of Lin Li before she could rein herself. But sitting beside Jian Wushuang, Su Ro shifted in her seat uneasily. None of the elders and warriors present in the chamber had expected that Jian Wushuang would dare unleash his powers in a convention so high and sacred. Boom! A huge and terrifying aura surged from within Jian Wushuang, pouring out with the force of a broken dam that the enormous round table broke asunder. Jian Wushuang hurled himself forward with blinding speed like a fleeting apparition. This had caught the entire congregation of elders unawares that they were frozen with shock. Third brother. Caught also by surprise, the colors left Su Ro's face. Never had she expected that Jian Wushuang would strike suddenly. The terrifying aura tore through the air, stabbing straight at Lin Li. But Lin Li was instead overcome by shock and anger. "You insolent pup! How dare you!" As a powerful holy master himself, Lin Li possessed quick reflexes, allowing her to react swiftly. The gleaming flash of an emerald green blade flickered dangerously like a serpent striking at its prey. Silhouettes of falling petals rained around her with a frigid coldness that blanketed her surroundings as her sword pierced at Jian Wushuang charging towards him, the flow of time being suspended in stasis as she unleashed her retaliation. Whereas the Blood Mountain sword struck forth with the force and intensity of a lightning bolt hammering down from the sky. Clank! The two swords clashed and gnashed furiously, emitting a huge explosion of force that released fiery sparkles and ripped even the fabric of space. Such powers he wields, Lin Li regarded her foe with disbelief. She could feel the sheer strength contained within the strike unleashed by Jian Wushuang, a strength that would hardly pale in comparison even to her, a holy master. "You have commendable power and strength, but your skills are still lacking," Lin Li taunted. "Really?" Jian Wushuang replied nonchalantly with an eerie grin. There was an anger flaring in his eyes. "Burst!" Jian Wushuang roared loudly, his voice echoing loudly within the entire chamber. And immediately at his command, Jian Wushuang's blade released the vast and terrifying power contained within it at once. A huge force swept like a tide towards Lin Li without warning. "What?" Lin Li's expression turned into one of shock and fear. He had imbued a secondary charge of raw power in his stroke. And a huge and powerful force at that. Lin Li's eyes widened with panic as she could feel the reverberations of the explosive force within Jian Wushuang's sword. The raw energy transmitted from the blade off her sword, passing into her arm. With horrifying cracking of bursting flesh and viscera, Lin Li's arm was blown into bits and pieces. Her limb exploded in the blink of an eye, throwing shreds and bits of sinewy flesh and bones into the air as her emerald green sword flew out of her grasp and clattered harmlessly onto the floor. And Jian Wushuang had wasted no time, appearing beside Lin Li abruptly. "Off with you!" With a rumbling growl filled with rage, Jian Wushuang landed a strong kick onto Lin Li. Heavily traumatized and dazed, Lin Li was no longer able to defend herself as she was thrown off her feet and crashed forcefully into the floor. Bang! The floor cracked and shattered under her. Another strike came, hitting her so hard that she fell out of the building and rolled down the hill. Then came another strike, sending her off the middle of the hill down towards the foot of the hill. She crashed into a scarlet-colored palace, smashing the building that it too tumbled and collapsed. Whoosh! As Lin Li tumbled down the hill, Jian Wushuang followed closely behind, appearing at the fallen ruins of the scarlet-colored palace. Lin Li was caught under the rubbles of the ruins, clambering to rise to her feet. Boom! A huge boulder, weighing at least hundreds of kilograms, slammed mercilessly into her chest, pinning her down on the ground. Ugh! Chapter 1056, Terror. Chapter 1056, Terror. Stop! Stay your hand! Angry cries and shoutings arose all around him. The experts of the council have caught up to them. All of them could hardly believe the sight of carnage and destruction laid out before them. Too fast. Everything, from the beginning of Jian Wushuang's sudden assault to the end of the skirmish when Lin Li was incapacitated beneath the huge boulder, had happened so quickly as the blink of an eye. Even Lin Li herself had not been able to fully respond to the abrupt onslaught of devastation beset upon her. Especially when Lin Li, in particular, was a true holy master who wielded immense strength herself. How could a holy master of such power and stature fall so easily? Even though one could factor in the haste of Jian Wushuang's sudden attack and Lin Li's overestimation of her own powers, one matter was invariably definitive: Jian Wushuang's skills and prowess. How could it be possible? Preposterous. Despite being crushed under the rock and her life hanging on a thread, Lin Li roared and bellowed vainly. She had not expected Jian Wushuang would dare strike so swiftly, nor had she knew that Jian Wushuang had such strengths. Most exclusively that particular stroke. Not only was the stroke earlier exceptionally powerful, but it also held a secondary charge hidden within. The hidden charge had surged forth as a secondary force, erupting towards her without any sign or warning, and had annihilated her entire arm, crippling her instantly. And it was that hidden charge that was the actual terror that had been her undoing. With 120 years and the abundance of materials for my research, I have finally improved my powers greatly, most notably my mastery of the coalescence sword principle. With all the many different styles of sword principles unified as one, I have passed the universe level to reach the creation level. The powers of the creation level is indeed so much more powerful than that of the universe level. And as I assimilated the various sword principles laid out before me, I have also been searching for any suitable techniques for the swordplay of coalescence. The ruthlessness technique which I had created is strong. But it is too simple and direct. And now, I have this. My new creation, the bladed surge. This newly designed stroke of mine is not only strong. There is a second charge, powerful and destructive in force, hidden in the first stroke. Then again, I have only the Empyrean Patriarch to thank for. It was he who had inspired me to create this technique. Jian Wushuang smiled. Despite having only endured 3 blows from the Patriarch himself, Jian Wushuang had vividly remembered all 3 blows unleashed upon him, especially the second technique. It was the second technique used by the Patriarch which had held a hidden charge within. It was the hidden charge which had injured him heavily. And it was this devastating stroke by the Patriarch that had spurred him to create the bladed surge technique. It was a stroke most savage and yet mystifying. With his mighty strength and Lin Li's own misjudgment, Jian Wushuang was able to soundly defeat Lin Li. What have you more to say, great elder Lin Li? Jian Wushuang looked down at her coldly from atop the huge boulder. But Lin Li was hardly able to answer as she spewed mouthful after mouthful of blood as she remained trapped under the boulder. Release the great elder, Jian Wushuang. Please, Jian Wushuang. The great elder has no intentions of offending nor infuriating you. Please, stay your hand. The council elders and warriors of the Blood Azura clan implored him. Third brother. Su Ro called to him as well. But she had not pleaded mercy from him. Looking at the surrounding people around him, a thin smile broke upon Jian Wushuang's face. He had anticipated that these people would behave and react so. It is always the fist that does the talking. No matter where I am in this realm. Jian Wushuang remarked to himself with an amused expression. He full well knew that Lin Li was only using him as a pretext to subvert Su Ro's rule. But Jian Wushuang himself has no interest to bandy words with Lin Li. Thus he had elected to directly pummel Lin Li into submission. Action, after all, has always spoken louder than words. And with his might fully impressed into the minds of the elders of the council and Lin Li's life at his fingertips, none of them dared rashly provoke more vengeance from him, staying only at where they stood and urged for clemency. None of them dared to bare their fangs at him no more. This was the reign of terror upheld by Jian Wushuang. I confess that my stay here has indeed given you great dilemma and trouble. Moreover, I have borrowed the use of the resources of your clan. I am willing to repay your kindness with chaos gems. But there will be no tolerance towards anyone who intends to use me as a means of realizing their devious schemes. Jian Wushuang cast his fiery stare onto the people encompassing around the scene. This is, after all, a matter of your own clan. An internal strife between different factions which, in truth, concerns me not. But now that I have been involved, I will not sit quietly. More so, since the affair matters also my fourth sister. Lin Li. Jian Wushuang's icy glare descended upon Lin Li. By the pleas of my fourth sister and the rest of the Blood Azura clan, I have respectfully addressed you as Great Elder. But do not ever think that any impudence from you will be tolerated when the upper elder, Su Qian, who is also the esteemed teacher of my fourth sister, is absent from the clan. Anger me, and I will not stay my blade anymore. I have dared to incur the wrath of the Empyrean Patriarch and the ancient demon clan, and I will not shy away from infuriating one more. Especially when you hardly wield the strength to subdue me. Filled with ominous threats, Jian Wushuang's thunderous declaration echoed across the skies above the city of the Blood Azura clan. Silence lingered dismally over the group of surrounding elders and warriors, as well as the growing band of curious onlookers who have come over to watch. Every one of them knew full well that Jian Wushuang has spoken nothing but the cold and hard truth. Crushed under the boulder, Lin Li could neither raise any objections nor could she fight back. The strength of Jian Wushuang had frightened and tamed her. A strength that could easily smother the life out of her body. Jian Wushuang looked once more and studied the crowd around him. A thin smile broke upon his face at the realization that his tactic has succeeding in making a strong impression. He threw a look at Su Ro. Fourth sister. He called out to her and gave her a knowing look. Su Ro returned with a faint nod and walked up. Great Elder Lin Li. With your consent, I will assume control of the Azura guards. With a painful twitch of her mouth, Lin Li opened her mouth to speak. Yet, no sound came from her. Does anyone else have anything to say? Su Ro turned to the rest of the council. The rest of the council shared a look amongst them and ultimately yielded, all of them rushing to bow with respects to Su Ro. As you command, your majesty. With that, Su Ro beamed delightedly. Jian Wushuang released Lin Li from under the huge boulder. The council was then adjourned and the crowd dispersed. Peace returned once more to the city of the Blood Azura clan. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.